Good evening, everybody. I will call to order the May 7th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let's see Jeff here. Yeah, well,
I think he'll be here.
I was gonna say, he didn't say anything to me that he wasn't gonna be here.
Or until he gets here.
Correct. In the meantime, I will appoint Mr. D to vote for him. All right.
So we have 9 voting members.
Fantastic. All right, administrative board work. We have a handful of meeting minutes, the 9th, the 24th, and 5/1. Mr. Rugg.
Okay, the 24th I have not got to yet. I just got them this afternoon, so I had some other pressing issues to deal with at that time, so we'll do those next week. But the minutes of April 2nd, 2025, I'll move that we accept those minutes.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And the minutes for April 2nd have been approved. I am looking for April 9th.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of April 9th, 2025 as presented.
I have a motion from Mr. Rugg,
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
second from Mr. Wiles. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes in the affirmative. The meeting minutes of April 9th have been approved. Mr. Rugg, you said he wanted to wait on the 24th?
Yes, we'll do those next week.
All right, and then I wouldn't want to do the first until we do the 24th, so we'll hang on, hold off on the minutes for the first.
I haven't seen the first yet, so.
Perfect. All right, regional impact determinations.
None this evening, Mr. Chair.
And any discussions with town staff?
Yes. So just an update about the zoning amendments. We had discussed previously trying to get them on the May 14th hearing. That is not feasible, so I'm trying to target June 4th, if that works for the board. That's our regular June meeting.
So first meeting in June
Correct.
for the amendments we discussed last meeting.
Thank you, yes.
Yep.
So that would be a public hearing.
Yep.
And then separate from that, at the council meeting, town council meeting on Monday evening, there was discussion about the PUD ordinance. And I think you, Mr. Chair, had asked, again, at that April 24th work session, essentially for some directions and feedback from the town council generally, but also specifically about the PUD ordinance. And so a result of that conversation on Monday night was that the town council will send the planning department some information about their expectations with, as it relates to that ordinance. They were asked to provide that to the department by May 15th. So the hope is to get that feedback from the council and collect it, come up with some type of amendment or whatever the direction is, and be able to have a conversation with this board and/or the council once I get that information.
So just real quick, May 15th is next Thursday. Is there a council meeting on the 19th?
Yes.
Okay, so then we would expect some sort of consensus from the council as to what exactly they want to do on the 19th. From there, we could,
That's my understanding. I'll defer to the council chairman as to how they want to conduct the meeting on the 19th and if they want to take that up, but I would think that it makes sense to have another discussion at that level once we get that feedback, but I'll defer to the chairman on that one. But yeah,
Okay.
I think that's reasonable.
fantastic. All right, anything else?
That's all I have for now.
He had his hand up first. Mr. D.
No, I was just alerting you to, there's somebody to your left now that.
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Nice to see you. With
Hi.
Jeff back, he'll, just as quick as you got it, you lost it, Mr. D.
It's good with me.
Lynn.
All good.
Just a question for Kelly, just can you give us an update on where we're at with the CIP process?
Yes, thank you. So towards the end of this month, I'm hoping to send out the requests to all the municipal departments and the school for capital improvements projects to begin that CIP process. And then from there, hopefully schedule, we typically do like a first meeting to establish a schedule. That's usually held in June. So that's my goal timeline right now, is to send stuff out to the departments and then schedule an initial meeting in June to establish the remaining schedule for that CIP process.
Okay, great. This is my first time going through it. I can't speak for Art, I'm sure he's been on many of these, but if we're both, speaking for Art, we're both in a situation where we can make daytime meetings at town hall, so, just make sure that we get invited
That
to
would
that.
be
so-
wonderful.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't done this since, oh my God, when
So I
we first
think
had the charter.
Historically, at least in my time, they've typically been in the evening still, but at least at
Benefits of
6
gray
o'clock,
hair.
so. But yes, good.
I'm sorry. I would just probably suggest keeping them in the evening because you have interested parties.
I'm
that
not
might-
suggesting a meeting time, all I'm suggesting is we're available whenever you need us.
Thank you. Yep,
Or we should be both available
Yeah,
whenever you need us.
and Jeff is correct, it's when the public can
Yep.
can get in.
thank you.
All right, anything else? All right, moving on. We are going to go to old business. The first thing we have is a request for a planning board recommendation for a building permit on a Class 6 road in accordance with NHRSA 674-41. James Smith Jr. and Samuel Smith are the owners. Russell Goldman is the applicant. 38 Jacks Bridge Road, map 17, lot 42A, zoned AR1, which was continued from April 2nd, 2025. I know Mr. Mr. Varani, you said you were going to recuse yourself for this.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll recuse myself for this,
Thank you.
this hearing. Now you can appoint me.
No,
Oh, no.
get a point for you.
Yeah, ex officio.
No, you can't,
All right.
but thank you anyway.
All right, how you doing, folks? The floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Bilk. I am a co-applicant, and I'm here representing Russell Goldman.
And Robert Baskerville of Bedford Design Consultants. Would you like just a very short summary of the site walk?
Yeah, I would, let's
whole
give us a
repeat.
rundown on the site walk, refresh everybody what the site conditions are, all that good jazz.
We met a week ago Saturday? Week ago Thursday?
Thursday, May 1st.
My daughter is here, totally discombobulated.
That was the last good day we had this month.
We've had rain. So we met right here in front of Maggie's barn, and we walked from here all the way down to the end of the property. One comment I have, we found an iron pin that a surveyor set right about 2/3 of the way through the property. We went to the registry and got a better copy of the plan that was done in 2016, where they surveyed all of Page Road and Jacks Bridge Road. And when you look at it closely, they have an angle point there. So they set a pin at the angle point. So that wasn't a corner, that's just an angle point in the road. Is that when we walked, we weren't sure what that was.
Okay, so Jack's Bridge goes all the way to that other property, and I think it must end where the, whatchamacallit?
Harvey Windows?
Yeah, so Harvey Windows
Under
is,
the parking lot.
Well, one notice in the
No, but it's
staff
stubbed.
comments and recommendations we saw, which we agree with, they recommended that this get a Page Road address. I don't know the process that, you would think it would make sense for the fire department to just get rid of Jack's Bridge on this side of it and just have that be Page Road. So in the staff recommendations, I think that was the bottom recommendation,
yes.
which we
yes.
agree with. Just not really sure what the process is. If we need to do a process, or we can just get a Page Road address.
Yeah, because it makes sense, because Jack's Bridge gets confused.
Is down in the south
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
industrial park.
That's going to be the easiest part of this whole process. The address is really not going
Yeah.
to be a problem.
I'm
So
saying
don't worry
we're-
about that.
We're completely okay with that. Is even though this is on the old Jacks Bridge portion of the road, a Page Road address would be simpler for everybody, I think. The other thing I'll mention is we are seeking a 15-foot gravel driveway. very similar to the 1,000 feet in front of us that goes through Page Road. We'll do at least 20-foot clear, which is NFPA standards, at least 14-foot clear height-wise. They like it so you got both the width and the height to get a fire truck through there without hitting anything. Depending on the survey, I'll do at least 1 or 2 wide spots, so if anybody is coming at each other, they'll be able to see each other and pull over to the side and pass. We'll do a fire truck turnaround at the entrance where our driveway goes in. When we were there, we saw that I recommended that we go in here, and Rustin agrees. We go in here, and there's a nice high spot right here in the middle of the property. And we're just doing a single-family house. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you had.
What's the length from where you guys are starting to the edge of the property
It's
line?
about 1,050 feet from here to here.
Okay, and obviously turnarounds are required, or not required, but recommended through NFPA 1141
Right.
every 1,200 feet, so you would be able to do it on your property line.
Right. From here to there is under 1,200 feet.
Okay, and you're proposing a 15-foot wide driveway
Yes,
from wherever it starts or ends now to your lot, essentially, correct?
right.
I'll start with the board before I start asking questions here. Board, we have anything?
Uh,
Mr. D?
Go ahead, Art.
As far as the surveying, it is going to be surveyed. So
Completely, right.
Yeah, because we need to know exactly where that road is, and I think the property owners would love that also.
I talked to my surveyor, we're gonna survey the whole lot, it's about 8 acres, do wetlands the whole lot, topo the whole lot boundary, and then
Yeah.
also all of this. And at least to my eye, we've got at least 2 wetland crossings here. We'll have to
Yes.
do a full survey and file for a wetland permit from the state. So a full survey will be included.
Terrific.
Mr. D?
So thank you, Mr. Chair. So, let's go back to the original thing. So the iron pipe that you did find was a guess, and it wasn't what you thought it was. It wasn't
You're talking
the
about
lot
one I mentioned
corner
in the April meeting.
on the lot,
Yeah, you're talking about the one we discussed in the meeting in April, not on the sidewalk.
not on the sidewalk.
Right. No, we still think we'll locate it when we do
Got
the
it.
full survey.
Okay,
I still think it's this point right here, which was done by this survey in 2016. It looks like they set more pins than what the record shows, but we'll go back and verify all of that.
and does that survey go all the way back to Lucas Road?
Yes, I think it goes from Lucas Road. What they did, I got the front part here. It was done by the Evans family. So they did all of Page Road and Jack's Bridge Road where they owned the property. But I think it goes all the way back to Lucas. Page Road. It may end just a little short of that.
Okay, so here's something that I've been thinking about since the April meeting.
Okay?
There's a family compound up there
Correct.
that has been driving on a gravel road to get to their own respective lots. Their
Correct.
own respective homes, family homes.
Yep.
Homesteads, and the barn, and a couple other things that are up there. So, I'm not gonna speak for them, because they're gonna speak for themselves, but it seems to me that it doesn't really matter where they're driving, because it's all the same family. You're now gonna introduce a different last name up there, for lack of a better term, and they're gonna be driving over the piece that's not paved from Lucas Road to the barn, which, from Lucas Road to the barn, we don't know if where people are driving is the actual right-of-way, because nobody cared then, when they were building their houses. So, I'm wondering if it makes sense that we need to do some placement of markers on that road from Lucas to the barn, also to make sure that whoever whoever comes into this now and maybe in the future is driving on a gravel road that's actually where it should be and not on somebody's front lawn.
I understand that.
Am I making sense? I'm rambling a little bit.
I'm
but-
completely making sense.
Okay, thank you.
I agree with you. One thing that's interesting, and we saw that when we walked it last Thursday, the stretch from here up has a lot of stone walls. So the previous survey that is done called it a variable width road, and they called out all pins and drill holes in the stone wall. So you can't go out there and create a 50-foot right-of-way because that's not the road.
Yeah,
So I
and that's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, I want to try and have this board protect the family that's currently there now from people driving over their front lawn that they think is the right-of-way, because we don't actually know if it's the right-of-way or not. We can guess, we can say there's a stone wall there, but just like the argument I made in the April meeting, until we survey it, we're all guessing. So I will be asking this board to add as a condition,
It is,
sorry,
sorry, we have that as a recommended condition.
all the way to Lucas?
It states, it doesn't define, it just states it references the right-of-way that you're questioning. So you could certainly
Okay,
add to that.
thank you.
So I'm gonna
Because
play
I
devil's
saw that, and to me, it was confusing. I want to make sure that we're going to Lucas.
Yeah, I would
Double
agree, you
check.
could clarify it further to
Thank
make
you.
make certain of that.
Thank you. My second point, Mr. Chair, is to get some clarification. It seems like, if I'm reading the plans correctly, that this road/driveway is passing over the corner of someone else's lot. And so there will need to be an easement for that, is that correct?
No. It's a Class 6 road. All of this is an easement. So none of this road, I believe, is deeded. It's all an easement through our property, in front of this, through this. So it's their road, their lot is on both sides of the existing right-of-way. So you've got your road easement in place now, the way I understand it. One other point about your previous point, we agree with signing all the documentations, and there's liability documentation we do. And Russ has to take care of this. He also is fully aware that he wants to go to the family compound out there and offer to pay a share of their maintenance cost, because he's gonna be driving over it.
Sure. Yeah, separate issue for sure. That's a civil issue that this board can't deal with, but it's, all right. So your position is that the language in the paper road that's there now includes the fact that it goes over someone else's land that is not the lot in question?
Some language, it's not a paper road. A paper road is a road that gets approved by a planning board but never gets built. This is a very old road that has been there for, who knows, 100 years, 200 years. It's not been used for long periods, so it reverts to a Class 6 status. But technically, it's not a paper road. It's a road that's been there, there's been easements and people passing on it in the past. So the town still has the rights to it. When you go down to the wetland, down to Jack's Bridge Road, where it ends for the industrial park,
Sure.
the town discontinued it. But this was never discontinued. So as far as the town rights go, it's still the town's right to use that for the city council to approve building permits on the Class 6 portion of it. So there is a right-of-way there now.
And that right-of-way goes over someone else's land, and your position is that's already been approved somewhere down the line, somehow, some way, before the lots were subdivided or whatever, the road was there first maybe, or?
Historically, the farmers, way back then, you make a road, everybody uses it, and a lot of the low roads in New Hampshire just turn into roads via decades and, years and years of use. But
Sure.
in a lot of the roads in town and all through New Hampshire, There's no actual deed to it. It was just been there.
Got it. Can I ask staff? Kelly, do you agree with that? That there doesn't need to be an agreement between the parties of the people who currently own that other piece of land that this road
Well-
is crossing over?
Well, I think that the condition that we're recommending relating to identifying by way of survey the existing right-of-way would answer that question. Meaning, if it is a right-of-way, right,
Yeah.
then I don't know, that's why we're asking, we don't know the limit of that, and so
Unknown.
if the limit of that right-of-way is enough for what they're trying to do from an access point, meaning it doesn't impact private property, because it would be within the right-of-way, then you may not need an agreement, if that makes sense.
Got it. So as it's drawn, then,
Yeah,
it's okay.
correct.
Got it.
But we want to
But
verify.
if we get into slope and slope easements and that type of thing, once they tried to build the road,
Correct,
then maybe there might be some additional paperwork. or-
potentially, yeah,
or whatever.
which is why we want that verification survey, just
Got
to
it.
make sure that we have that parameters of that right-of-way clear, that it's most up-to-date and clear as to
Got it.
where it is.
One more for staff, please. So, in reading through the dossier, basically, of all the years and all the paperwork that's in our file, there seemed to be need for a variance, no need for a variance, a need for a variance, no need for a variance. It looked like the last thing was no need for a variance. Did I read that correctly?
So, let's see if I can make this simple. I think the trigger for the variance was in that the council had imposed conditions on their approval of the permit, and so after that happened, the applicant at that time did not agree with all of the conditions, and the process to remove council-imposed conditions is the ZBA. So that is why they went the variance route, specifically for that.
Okay,
If this applicant gets to the council level and the council imposes the conditions and they're good with the conditions, they proceed with the permitting process. If they disagree with some of the conditions, then they would do the same thing. They may need to go the variance route if they want to try and remove any condition that council places on their approved building
all
permit.
right. So as I read the RSAs then, the easiest way to describe it, the way that I understood it was, nothing happened after they got the variance
Yeah.
within a 2-year window,
Correct,
and so it expired. The variance
Yes.
went away. Is that correct?
correct. So, yes, so the previous applicant went through that process, didn't act on it within the 2-year time frame, which is statutory, and therefore it went away.
Got
It
it.
is no longer.
Thank you very much. I'm all set, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
So the way I look at the plans, I walked it, I wasn't out there for the official site walk, but I did walk it with Mr. Varani ahead of time, this is really a Class 6 road off of a Class 6 road. And I look at that portion of Jack's Bridge, or a page that goes through the Varani properties as a
Yes.
Class 6 road.
Right.
And we talk about the driveway being 1,000 feet roughly. If I add the two together, we're looking at, my calculations were about 4/10 of a mile. And from the corner of Page and Lucas back to the property.
It is Class 6 all the way from Lucas, all the way out to the end of the road, which is at the wetland,
Yep.
down past the industrial park.
I'm only worried about Jack's Bridge up to the property,
Right.
from Page up to the property.
Right.
I'm not worried about the other end of
So
it.
from Page up to here, you're guessing 2,500, 3,000 feet? You're probably right?
Yep. Well, probably, yeah, maybe 1,500, 2,000
Yeah.
feet at the
So
most.
4,000 to here? Yeah, you're probably right.
4/10 of a mile, so about 2,000 feet
Oh.
total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not
I thought you said 4,000. You mean
not 4,000
4/10.
feet, yeah,
Yeah,
4/10.
okay.
So I think any discussion we have about the 1,000 feet turnarounds or the length of the driveway should include Page Road in those discussions as well. That section of Page Road that's a Class 6, because I'm looking at the entire length of the project. And just, in context, I think our regs are for a cul-de-sac is 1,200 feet maximum is what we allow for a cul-de-sac, just for a road in town. I think that's an important thing to consider as well. And I do want to note there's only one way in. There is not a back way out. The back way out looks like it's covered by the parking lot at Harvey Windows. And the other question I had is if this project drives any improvements to Page Road, I think the applicant would have to pay for those improvements to Page Road 100%, and nothing would fall into the Verani or the Weigler family up there. I don't know if they will or not, but conceivably they could. And I think that's a condition that I would like to see added as well. And then my other last question is on the driveway. Are you proposing a gravel driveway?
Yes,
And that would be built to current engineering standards to support the weight of a fire truck?
yes. And the fire department recommends it meet NFPA 1141, which specifies all that, width, clearance. And I think in the last meeting, we talked about the width, but we'll have a nice width. It'll be a road that'll fully support a fire truck
Okay,
with proper drainage, so it doesn't muddy up and muck up.
okay. And then, Mr. Chair, I just agree with the other conditions that have been set forth earlier.
So let's talk about your roadway width. You just said it's gonna meet 1141, which is 12 feet of each lane of travel, which is 24 feet total.
If you do 2 lanes, we're asking for 1 lane. What most towns do, when I was looking for it in NFPA, I was gonna order this book. What I've seen in the past is for a driveway to a single-family house, it's usually a 1-lane road. Once you get to a town road, you typically go to 2 lanes, and then you have more requirements for bigger industrial buildings. But this is basically an access to 1 house, the driveway. So we're requesting 1 lane, and instead of the 12, you've got 15 that goes from Lucas up through the end of the family compound. That we'll just match that and do the 15, at least 15, with proper drainage and clearance for the fire truck. So we're asking for a 1-lane road, but wider than what NFPA requires.
Fantastic. Do you have an idea of how wide that right-of-way is?
They guessed at it as a 2-rod road, which is usually about 33 feet, plus or minus.
Okay. I agree that I think the survey should be from the corner of Page and Lucas all the way through. My question is, that survey gets taken and the locations are significantly different than what's currently driven on. What's that look like?
We come back.
Another discussion.
Staff deals with it.
I mean, hard to say exactly, but if you're talking about, I think we were talking about what Tony was getting at, and that it might trigger the need for easements. Like, whether it, depending on whose property it's on or not on, what it's used for, if it's access, things like that might be triggered.
Or as,
I guess the question I'm asking, which I have no idea, but what if this right-of-way is halfway through this barn?
Seems unlikely, but I don't have the survey of it, so I don't know where it is, but.
But I'm just asking the question. The right-of-way is halfway through the barn, but the road is 20 feet to the left.
I think the company who did, actually, the first time they did the survey was 2004. The company who did the survey in 2004 is a very good company, and they picked up all the right-of-ways, they picked up all the stone walls.
Okay.
I think the likelihood of that is very, very
But-
small.
Just from a procedural standpoint, these would be, in theory, right, so let me back all the way up. Procedurally, the planning board is making a recommendation
Correct.
to the council.
get that.
And so, in theory, it gets to the council, they impose all of these conditions, let's say. If the applicant can't meet these conditions,
Then they can't meet the
they
condition.
can't do it, so.
I mean, they're also gonna have to come back for when they decide on a building, whatever they're gonna put on it,
No,
on the lot.
So this is
If it's-
specifically for,
this is
my
just a
understanding
building
is
permit.
Dwelling.
residential,
Yeah, this
home.
is just a building permit. This would
just a
not,
building permit.
But if they have, so the elephant in the room is they're also gonna have a driveway, an actual driveway from the lot
off
line
of the, yeah,
of the Class 6 road to
The house.
whatever they're building.
Yeah.
Which is gonna be another X number of feet.
yeah.
Could be another 1,000 feet easily. It's an 8-acre lot, 6-acre lot, whatever it is. It could be 1,000 feet, another 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
We can't deal with that because that hasn't been proposed and it's not in front of us, but
Well, but what I'm
it
getting
is
at
an
is
elephant in the room. I
What I'm
think.
getting at is it doesn't come back to us.
If it
It's
ends
a
up
building
being a
permit.
commercial use, it has to come back.
Yeah,
But
but as
that,
a
we're
residential
talking a
building
whole
permit, we
different,
wouldn't.
whole different
Yeah.
ballgame here if it ends up a commercial use.
Yeah.
Right now, it's being represented and it's being viewed as a residential building, single-family residential building.
So then you go back to if the homestead is 1,500 feet into the lot, then that's gonna trigger the NFPA 1,200-foot rule, and they're gonna have to put another turnaround in?
Correct. That's my, yes, correct.
But
I would think the fire department would agree.
process. That would be when they're getting their building permit.
Got it.
would be, yeah.
Thank you.
Anything from this side of the board? All right. I will, before we start going down these, I will open this up to public comment. Anybody from the public? You can come up. Just grab the, can you put that microphone back on the podium? Thank you.
Margarita Barani, I'm in a butter to the property. So I have the whole history of this because we bought with the town, I think Arthur was a selectman at that point, to get a building permit to be able to build our house. The town's idea was that the Jack Bridge Road started at the corner of Lucas and Page Road. We proved to the town that Page Road went all the way up to where our little barn is. So Jack Bridge starts not at the corner where our big barn is,
Right.
but where our little barn is. So, and it was closed, subject to gates and bars. Jack Bridge was closed, subject to gates and bars. So we had to, at that point, if we were going to open up Jack Bridge, we had to go to the town and get the selectmen and go to a town meeting and get the townspeople to vote to open that road up because it was closed to subject to gates and bars. I don't know what that process is nowadays. But we proved that we had enough frontage on Page Road to be able to build our house. Now, we have 3 additional lots that will be opened up when they build this 15-foot driveway that we expect access off of. So if they aren't just building a driveway for one house, they're building a driveway for 4 houses. So I just want to clarify that. The other thing is, I want to make sure, when we built our house, we had to sign a document that said it's not safe for life or limb, and that we can't sue anybody if the fire department and everybody doesn't get there. Now, it's my understanding they're going to build this for speculation. And being in the real estate industry, I know a lot of people will say, this is great, it's 8 acres, it's in the middle of nowhere, it's super. However, when they have to maintain a 2,000-foot driveway, patch it, fill ruts and whatever, all of this glory goes by the boards, and the next thing you know, they're going to be coming to us to say, well, you have to do your fair share. Well, we've already told them we won't sign a maintenance agreement because it's our family that maintains all of this, and we do it at our own convenience. We have our own equipment and so forth, and we're not signing a maintenance agreement, but I want to make sure that whoever buys that property doesn't sue us later on because we didn't maintain our road and they can't get down it because they're the last people on the road. So these are some of my concerns. And as I said, there's 3 other lots up there that will be opened up the minute they put this driveway in. So it needs to accommodate those. It's not just a driveway for one single house. And I have all of the old stuff. I have files here from when we talked with the town. I think the town forgot that it was where the Class 6 road was, that it was closed subject to gates and bars and all of these other things. But we have a giant file. My father was the perfection of keeping documents for everything. So if you have any questions, I can give you all the history.
Thank you.
Kelly, can you help me out with what subject to gates and bars is?
On Jack's Bridge?
Yeah.
So my understanding is that was closed off at the point that Ms. Varani referenced, because of the status of the road.
The little
Meaning-
barn or the big barn?
The little
I'm
barn
sorry?
Little barn is where Jacksbridge Road ends,
is where Jack Bridge
Where
Road
the-
starts.
starts.
Where the gate is and then you go into,
And it used to be that when it was closed subject to gates and bars, that only the abutters could use it. It was not for public, it wasn't a public road.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to address another point about the additional house lots. So those would be subject to the same process because it's a statutory requirement relating specifically to the building permit. So if somebody wants to pull a building permit on those currently vacant lots that we're not discussing this evening, but they're vacant and they exist there, it's the same process is triggered because they'd still be asking for a building permit and they still would not be on a class 5 or better road.
Anything else from the public?
I'm John Wagler and live at 74 Page Road. I have a couple of maps here that I can give you guys. What it does is it shows, this is tax maps from 1968 from the town. So, and it shows Page Road being solid, and it shows, I don't know if you want it, and then it shows the,
I gotta have you go back to the mic
Yeah.
while you keep speaking.
and then there's another one that shows, there's a little more subdivision on this one. But I had, that map, I ended up having to go, it was back in, I think it was 1995 or something like that, where I ended up doing all this research. And in order for us to get a building permit, we had to, I guess the law back then was you could not build on a Class 6 road unless you got a variance. And I don't know if that's changed. Apparently, I guess that's changed.
It's
so-
changed several times, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so that's the only thing I know about that. And I do have more, I guess, information. It says, this one here was like, it was 3/18/1995. It says the Jacksbridge Road is shown on map 17 from Page Road, lots 36 and 35 east to Clark Road, lot 44, is discontinued and made subject to gates and bars. That was down in 1970. And I also have a letter, I guess, from Jim Smith when he was the building,
That's connected to, right?
he had given me this from saying that
You're
in
saying the small one.
1970, it was closed subject to gates and bars. So I have a bunch of paperwork here that I can give you guys as well. And, you know, so we, when we started to tried to build our house, we were denied, first of all, for a permit, so then we had to prove that the road was open, and it wasn't Jack's Bridge Road, it was really Page Road, so. And right now, I know we have, I think there's 3 lots that continue on prior to the applicant's lot, and we, you know, at this point in time, we're not doing anything with them, but, you know, hey, down the road, I have 2 kids that maybe would like to build up there at some point in time too, so my thought was that if it's got to be able to, this road has to be able to sustain more than just one car. I would think you're going to have, you have to look at the lot count on the existing right-of-way and see, well, there's 2 or 3 more lots, so obviously, at some point in time, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be me, maybe 10 years from now, somebody will want to build on that, and I don't know if by encumbering that, it's a town road, that the town would have to maybe make them upgrade it to as wide as possible so that you could get 2-way traffic down there. That's my thought. And so I'll give you all this information here in regards to the closing of the road, and so that's why I don't know if they have to you know, petition the selectmen or whatever to reopen that road first before they can do any work on it, that's all. So I'll give you more of this.
Can you please point out where the small barn is on your map, sir?
This is a big barn.
Yep.
This is Maggie's house. Is this the, what you call the small barn? Oh, it's right in here somewhere.
And then if you looked at that lot, yeah, it's just kind of shows where Page Road is solid and then it goes to hash.
So I question, you know.
I gotta have you come up to the mic.
I was just going to say, I question where the 1,000 feet to turnaround starts. Does it start at our little barn? Does it start at the big barn? We have a lot of barns, I guess, but,
Good question.
so where does that start if you're looking at the 1,000 feet for the turnaround? Because our turnaround is at the little barn, where when we put that road in.
But that's your land.
Yes.
You're turning around onto your
own
property
Their
from the
property.
Class 6 road
Right,
to turn around.
right, when we upgraded it.
Thank you.
Right.
Real quick, Giovanni, go ahead.
Just for the public's knowledge, can you define what a closed subject to gates and bars means?
So essentially means that the point at which the municipality is no longer maintaining the road. So we maintain to
Has the
Jack's Bridge,
municipality ever maintained Page Road as a whole? Just out of curiosity.
maintain
That's a good question, Jake.
Page Road as a whole.
Yeah, like,
So we maintain a portion of
yes.
it.
All right, fair.
But basically, the gates and bars is where.
It's the
town-
indicator that says. So that's my understanding of that's a legal term, gates and bars. That's my understanding of it.
So on gates and bars, we abut a Class 6 road in town and.
Say, you've gotta have one right in your backyard,
Yeah,
right?
it's subject to gates and bars, and
It's
my,
more of an expression, you know.
well, my understanding of gates and bars is it's really to control the flow of livestock
Yes.
more than anything else, but it doesn't close the road. The road is still open to public access. It doesn't close the road.
Right. It
Still a public right of way.
Right.
correct. It's still a public right of way, and I believe there's language that references what Ms. Varani was stating about abutting landowners to the right of way area. But yes, that's my understanding of it.
Thank you.
Giovanni Verani, 73 Page Road. In my understanding, gates and bars, it says closed to anyone other than the landowners. But, you know, that's three different viewpoints, I guess. So I agree with what you said, Lynn. I think that from Lucas and Page is how you should be looking at the survey, both the survey and the turnarounds that the fire department are requesting. Because although we have access in that first 1,000 feet per se, to structures and things, they're not official turnarounds and they're on private property. So I'll disagree with one thing Mr. Baskerville said, that we don't have a 15-foot road on our section. We've improved that much wider than 15 feet. I think you folks have been out there. You can pass 2 cars through that. And, you know, all the culverts are in place. There's drainage on the sides. I also think it's a good question as to where that road is, because you know how roads go. There was a deer path, turned into a cow path, turned into a trail, turned into a road. And then in this case, it was at one point in time, not trolley car, a wagon, whatever. The wheeled vehicle that was pulled by the horses. Carriage. There you go. And then for the longest time, it was owned by a lumber company, Lord Lumber. And they owned a lot of North London area, and they timbered. So when lumber companies go into places, they go in and they create their own skidder roads, and they go in, they timber, and they so I don't know that road's anywhere near where it is, where, you know, what we perceive to be a road out there. I know the stone walls that we put up on our section of the road, we put up for aesthetics. they weren't already existing. So, I do think we have to carry our trash cans from our house all the way down to Jack's, Lucas Road and Page Road. Our kids get picked up at the bus stop there. I think what Margarita said was accurate. We all have four-wheel drives. When we have to get to work in the morning and it snows that night, we're not plowing in the morning. We're plowing our way to work, okay? So if the people behind us, if they were to build there, want to have it plowed, we plow it on a Saturday. We plow it when we can, you know? I mean, we're all busy. So we make sure we do what we have to, you know, we take those precautions and what have you, or hazards or whatever, we take it all into effect, and we'll go out there and do it when we have time to do it. So we're not doing a road maintenance agreement. We're not, you know, we're all on the same page. I'd hate to see somebody else be on the same page. And from what I understand, they're building this property to be sold to a third party. And, you know, I don't know. It might sound good to drag a trash can 2,000 yards to 2,000 feet to the corner of a road, but try doing that 2 or 3 times. So yeah, Tony, you mentioned surveying the whole thing. I think you need to survey it. Lynn, you mentioned the turnarounds. I think that's accurate from where you start and finish and what have you. There is a lot of wetlands out there. There's a big jog in the road where most of our board met to start that process. I think the road's up that hill. It's not where we were because that's the driveway to access her barn. You'll probably have to blast through there. There's a lot of wetlands mitigation up this road. You know, it's a messy road. So we're fortunate. We are used to doing the work. We know how to grade roads. We have the equipment to do it. We have plow trucks. But your average person doesn't have that. And if there's any type of easements that they need onto our properties or anything to that effect, that's not something we want to do. So I would stick with the town's recommendation of a 12-foot wide road either way, the turnarounds, et cetera, because that's what we have on our piece. So, thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, I will close public comment.
I have a Gates and Bars descriptive if you want it.
Not yet.
Okay.
And obviously, this would come out inside of the survey you would have to perform. I'm very curious where this road actually stops today and becomes Jacks Bridge Road, and what that location is. Because by your plan, it looks like it's this bigger barn. By what I'm seeing, I think it's the smaller barn.
The road was improved up to the bigger barn. But what where the town puts that line and says, this is Page and this is Jacks Bridge Road, that is up. I believe them that it's up probably by the smaller barn. So for some reason, this road at some point in the past didn't have one name all the way through it, and they picked a point and stopped it. What I hear being recommended by the staff is giving us a Page Road address and doing whatever processes are necessary to make everything on this side of the wetland, just call it all Page. If the fire department gets a call for Jacks Bridge Road, you want them going down and up Jacks Bridge Road. You don't want them having to circle all the way around. It's confusing. We just did the same thing. We're doing the same thing in Durham right now with a road that has to be renamed. And the fire department's out there for 911 purposes and going to rename the road. I would think you'd want all this road renamed to Page Road.
Mr. D.
Can I address a couple of things?
One sec. Mr. D.
Oh.
So 674 doesn't cover it, that I can see. But this is only land planning. So there are other RSAs that we don't have that may address it. But I did find the descriptive from the Alfano Law Office, who apparently does work for the state. And it says, Class 6 highways are deemed subject to gates and bars, which means an abutting landowner may install a gate or bar across the road. The gate or bar cannot interfere with the public's use of the highway, meaning the traveling public must be able to open and close the gate or remove the bar. So,
Yep.
that's what I found.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a couple things you wanted to address?
Yeah, I'll mention that first, and all the information we have on Class 6 roads and gates and bars, we'll have to confirm that through our attorneys and yours or through town staff. I happen to have what most people consider the bar bill in this state a hard road to travel. This whole thing is just on highways in the state of New Hampshire, and they've got about 2 pages on Class 6 highways. But the last paragraph on them is for Class 6 roads subject to gates and bars, that in 1999, the legislature enacted RSA 231:21-A, which clarified for the first time that all Class 6 roads, regardless of how created, shall be deemed subject to gates and bars. So all Class 6 roads have that name, even the portion in front of the Verani residences. The gates and bars may not interfere with public use and must be capable of being open and closed by users of the road. The select board is authorized to regulate the structures to assure public use. That's just in 99, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm just quoting what we understand the current law is. If there's a issue with that, we'll have to address it. With regard to what was mentioned too, just real quickly, we heard that there may be 3 additional lots. It's my understanding how this whole process started is Mr. Goldman turned in a building permit, and that on Class 6 roads, building permits have to be approved by the town council. Selectmen before there was a town council. And as long as that process stays where it is, Mr. Rugg mentioned it's changed a lot of times over the years, assuming that law stays the way it is, when those 3 homes go to get a building permit, they will have to do the same process. They'll have to file it with the town council, they'll have to come to you, and if they want to increase the traffic from 1 house to 4 houses, that should be their responsibility if and when they build, not Mr. Goldman's. What I might suggest is a lot of this road doesn't have much right-of-way. We'll give an easement along the front of ours right now that if anything happens in the future, you'll have a 50-foot right-of-way, not a 33-foot right-of-way. At least that. And that if they come in later to build, you might give them a condition to also give an easement on the front of their property to get the road up to town standard width. Just a suggestion. I mean, everything on this seems to me that everything I've heard tonight, it's a lot of details to do, but everything seems workable, and it's in everybody's best interest just to work together and find a way to do this.
All right, anything else from the board? All right, do we want to go down these comments one by one and make some decisions on the comments before we make a recommendation? Everybody comfortable with that?
I think, yes,
All right.
could clarify it.
So, comment number 1, fire department recommends that access to the lots be constructed to meet NFPA 1141, including minimum clear width of 12 feet for each lane of travel, excluding shoulders, turnarounds to be constructed at a maximum of 1,200-foot intervals, road to be constructed of hard all-weather surface sufficient to hold the weight of a fire truck, and the maximum slope of the road should not exceed 6%. Does anybody have any comments on the first section?
Is there a weight that goes with the fire truck? The fire department should provide that.
It's in 1141, isn't it?
It's all, yeah.
Oh, the weights are in
It's in
1141.
1141, all that.
Does 1141 outline turnaround size and width and
The 1200 reference, you mean?
No. NFPA 1141, does it clarify the dimensional requirement for these turnarounds?
I don't know the answer. I don't know what the NFPA says, so.
I
Can we
believe it
phone a
does, but I
friend and
don't
call
have it in front
the fire department?
I
See if Brian's
requested their
around.
presence this evening.
I know you did. I know you did.
It's my understanding, based on the conversations with the fire department that I've had, is that this is the condition that they agree with and they feel is appropriate for this matter.
I
So-
guess my question is a 10-foot turnaround's not gonna do anything for a 60-foot long truck. What needs to be the dimensional requirement for this turnaround, I think is relatively important. I know you don't
I
have the
don't,
answer
I don't
to it.
disagree with you, I'm just
Board
saying that,
have any thought on that? Do we need more clarification on?
So my thought is, if the fire department says this is the standard to use, they're the experts in this, and I would go with their opinion.
I mean, it could be clarified when it gets to the town council.
Yeah.
I think they would want exacting, and everything.
I would, I kind of still have two questions on this one. Turnarounds to be constructed at a maximum of 1,200-foot intervals. Where's the 1,200 feet start?
My opinion is it starts at the intersection of Page and Lucas,
Yep, that's the class 6.
at the start of the
highway.
Class 6 corridor.
Yes. Mr. Chair, I tried to get into NFPA.
You're not gonna be
You have
able
to be
to.
a member.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now.
You have to be a member, so.
So I think that needs to be clarified. Turnarounds to be constructed at a maximum of 1,200-foot intervals beginning at the start of the Class 6 road, which, Kelly, am I understanding that the Class 6 road starts at the corner of Page and Lucas?
that is my understanding.
All right, so I think we need to add to that 1,200-foot intervals.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
One sec.
Now, Jake, one question.
Yep.
Does that, so that would include the turnaround that the Veranis have put? Like,
because
if,
that-
like if
No,
we're
that's,
requiring
that's a
turnarounds-
private
She
turnaround.
testified that was,
Yeah.
the turnaround is on her
It's
land.
their property.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
a,
just the simplest way to make sure you're capturing, I think, what you want is to state beginning at the
At the
start of the
intersection.
Class 6 road.
correct.
Done.
Correct,
That way you're covering what you're trying to cover.
correct.
Like the Class 6 road being Page or Jack's Bridge.
Well, that was the next question. What Class 6 road are we, this is what this goes back to my comment of where does Jack's Bridge start?
Or it could be Page and the current Jack's Bridge Road. It would be to this date.
No, I'm just happy to
I
be
know,
looking this way.
I understand that.
Yeah,
Because the Class 6 road actually starts at what is it, 28?
is that a Class 6 road through
No.
the entire thing?
I think that part's
Where are you
closed.
talking about?
Halfway up?
Page?
There's one
Yeah.
section, there's Class 6 road within Page Road.
You get a certain distance up Page Road and it turns into a dirt road.
I don't think that makes it a 6, though.
That's just where the town decided we're done maintaining
Yeah,
it.
it's just a little dirt road.
Yeah,
Okay.
I still think if you phrase it the way you first did, it covers either side.
it still leaves for
cover it.
interpretation, this whole Jack's Bridge Page Road thing. So I think we need to clarify, starting at the Lucas and Page corner, if you will, because this is gonna become a Page Road address.
I would say the corner of Lucas and Page Road.
Yeah.
There's only one intersection on Lucas.
Yeah.
And it's, so say the Class 6 road, now known as, whatever it's now known as.
You had a question, sir?
Yes. I think it's more than 1,200 feet from Page Road up to here. And you've heard the public say tonight that they won't give any easements. There's not any right-of-way there to create a public turnaround. Even the one we were proposing, which was gonna be to the standard templates we use when we do a site plan for fire truck turning radius, was gonna be in our property with an easement to the town. Of telling us we have to construct a turnaround, we don't own the land and we can't purchase it, is a deal breaker.
That's why I was asking about the turnaround on Verani.
Right.
I know.
If that counts.
Yeah.
And if not, do we have to do a turnaround in the Verani property if that area, if that is more than 1,000 feet?
And Mr. Chair, this is our recommendation only. The town
Yeah.
council can do whatever the town council wants to do with that 1,200-foot turnaround, so.
Which I think brings up my next question of where does Lucas and Page Road start? Is it Lucas Road that we use the 1,200-foot mark from?
I don't think I have that copy on a full size. You can kind of see it from this. So in talking about, you talked about, you kind of switch it. You can see it too. So this is Route 28. There's a new paved section at the beginning that is built here. Then it's paved up to here. This stretching is not paved, it's a gravel road. Lucas Road comes in here, and Page Road starts here.
Where does Page Road end?
Page Road, the name Page Road, ends at the small barn. But the road used to continue through here, all the way down Jack's Bridge Road. Jack's Bridge must be this one. All the way down to Route 28 down here. And that's what's confusing. This is still Jack's Bridge. They used to call it Jack's Bridge all the way up to here.
All the way to the old barn. Small barn.
The small barn.
Yep.
And at some point then, when this was built, these people who did this plan asked the town council to discontinue it from here to here, which the town did. So they took a section out of the middle. But then now you got a piece of Jack's Bridge Road here that does not physically connect to a piece of it up here. And that doesn't make sense for 911 standards, it should just be renamed. But the right-of-way goes through it. It's a technicality what name you give it.
So board, what do you think on the 1,200-foot intervals? Where are we putting, how are we, there needs to be some sort of, this needs to be more clear. Turnarounds to be constructed at a maximum of 1,200-foot intervals needs to be more clear as to where it's going. Where does the,
The question is,
where does it start?
the question is, Mr. Chair, how long do you let a problem persist before you fix it? Right now, you have a family compound that's not meeting an FPA. But they really don't care, because if one of their houses are on fire, they're gonna let the fire department, do a turnaround wherever they want. Take down the rock walls if they want to, whatever happens. And so, at some point, there has to be a line in the sand where the town of Londonderry says, enough is enough, we've got to fix this thing and bring it up to standards, right? Just like one of the requirements to build the house is going to be, they're going to have an in-the-house sprinkler system, not a lawn sprinkler system, in the home sprinkler system, which brings that up to code. Some of the buildings on this Class 6 road may or may not have that, but if they did come in for a permit to redo it, a one-wall construction, we call it in the industry, chances are the building inspector would say, you're gonna have to have a sprinkler because that's what the new standards say. So now you have, we're gonna continue the road that apparently is already there. I don't agree, but some people would say the road is already there. They're gonna bring that up to standards. Then everything else needs to come up to standards too. The house that goes on there has to be the current standards, so everything's gotta come up to standards, or not. Where is the line of the sand?
That's what I'm trying to,
And as Lynn said, town council's got this, gonna have to deal with this anyway. It's really there, we're just making a recommendation to them, so.
yep.
So, my recommendation is that the 1,000 feet starts at the corner of Page and Lucas Road.
Okay. I think a clear width of 12 feet for each lane of travel excluding shoulders. Do we want to leave that, or do we want it to, I did a bunch of measurements on this, looks like the widest spot's like 20 feet. Do we want it to match 20 feet, or do we want to leave it 12 feet for each lane of travel?
Leave it as the fire department recommended.
Yeah. That's,
Okay?
You know, the question then is this a one-lane road or a two-lane road, driveway? You say per each lane,
12 feet for each lane of travel.
we're asking it to be a one-lane driveway to a one house. Typically, when you see
So
that
how do
on
you
most
get out?
houses, it's 12 feet.
So how do you get out? It's one way, how do you get out?
Is
You just need to follow
Yeah.
the NFPA, that's what's
Yeah.
being referenced. And however that's applied by the fire department is
what I mentioned
how it's applied.
what I mentioned earlier too, is I bought a house up in Concord. I bet I'm a mile down the road. 20 people on it, there's no association. There's no agreement at all. And yeah, it gets in horrible shape, but that's common in Concord. I mean, in a lot of the state.
I can also cite a specific example in Londonderry on 48 Mayflower Road or Drive. There's a driveway, it's 1,056 feet, about 11 feet wide. No road frontage off of the road. The driveway has no road frontage off of the road that it extends from. So, you know, that's an example of a long driveway right in Londonderry.
And remember what I was gonna say, is on the road I go down, it's probably only 10 feet paved. And then every so often, there's a wider part where you can pull over and let somebody pass. And I have no problems going up and down the road.
So,
And we suggest the same thing here.
so I hate to make this conversation more complicated, but the fire department's commenting on it being a two-lane road, 12 feet wide.
Yeah.
So the applicant is stating they're not going to do a two-lane road 12 feet wide. So do we want to go back to the fire department and get comments from them on a 12-foot-long driveway?
Can I also ask a question? Are we considering this a road or a driveway?
Well, it is a road.
That's my question,
yeah.
right?
Right.
So the applicant's calling it a driveway. We're calling it a road.
That, based on the last discussion, the last meeting where we discussed this, we're terming this driveway.
Okay.
I remember I said road by mistake
And
several
then
times.
it was corrected to
And the
driveway.
engineering director stated driveway.
All right.
So
And we've got other lots that are contiguous to these. If the Veranis want to develop them, what happens then?
They have to go through this process to pull a building permit. on
They
the
have-
Will they have a driveway in, all the way in, or will we need to
That,
I think that's all
require
hypothetical. We
a
don't know. what's going
roadway
on.
Yeah, that's down the
at that
road.
point?
It's
No.
not
What's
related.
that?
Down the road.
We don't know.
Nicely done.
No, that's speculation. We don't know what the
one
Veroni's gonna
comment I'll
do.
make
All
about
I'm
the
getting
discussion
at is
about
I
the
feel
other
like
lots.
it should just be the width of whatever's there. Whatever is currently upgraded, which is about 20 feet in its totality.
I'm just gonna say this about the other lots and trying to speculate and almost hit the line of future conditions on it. I know this is a recommendation to the council, but I would stay away from that type of discussion.
Yep. All right. So, we leaving it as it is? Okay. Survey should be performed by a licensed land surveyor to field locate existing road right-of-way. All improvements must take place within the right-of-way. Where the existing right-of-way is not sufficient for construction of required turnarounds, easement may be required from abutting property owners. Everybody good?
Yep.
Wetlands within the area impact should be delineated by a certified wetland scientist. Appropriate permits, CUP, NHDES, dredge and fill permit must be obtained for any disturbance to wetlands or wetland buffers. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Appropriate stormwater management and erosion control should be designed and installed to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Works and Engineering.
You missed one, just to.
Where's
You
that?
you skipped over one there.
Oh, did I go over one?
That's
Yeah.
the next one down.
Oh, an additional provision regarding property owner liability for damage to town vehicles and equipment to be added to the recorded waiver of municipal liability. Draft language has been provided by the town council and has been included in the attached draft waiver release. Now,
Yep.
Jake, just to clarify on that statement, you said the town council, it's by town council. I just want to clarify that it's.
oh, did I say the
you
instead
said
of
the
by?
Town council.
Yeah, yeah.
And
But the lawyer, the town council, the attorney,
Thank you.
They're saying council.
council.
With an S, with an S,
Yeah, yeah.
legal.
Yep. Appropriate stormwater management and erosion control should be designed and installed to the satisfaction of DPW. Any issues? Residential sprinkler system should be installed in their proposed structure. Any issues?
No problem there.
It should be noted that there may be ledge in the area and the proposed road improvements may require blasting. And the property should be assigned to a Page Road street address. All right. So, I am looking for a motion on a recommendation.
Just a couple of more comments
Sure.
just before we go to a motion.
I think you might, I just wanted to cover what you had stated. Are you about to do that? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I have two questions. One is, where does the 1,200-foot interval start? I don't think we.
No, I don't.
We didn't decide on that.
Haven't,
And then the fact that the fire department is talking about a road and not a driveway. And I just want that noted.
Yes. What I was going to ask for clarification on was Lynn had made a comment about improvements to Page Road, if needed, would be on the applicant.
Right.
Is that something that you wanted added to this?
I do.
That's all I got.
yeah, I agree with Lynn.
That's it.
Hold on.
I'll explain after the meeting, the difference.
Did we, while you're thinking, did we, also, one of the things, one of the bullets is a survey performed by licensed surveyor. Do we say where we want the survey to start? Did we do that up above?
Corner of Page and Lucas, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Stuck on a couple things here. One is still the starting point of the 1,200 feet. I agree with Lynn. I don't think we have agreed where the starting point is.
Wouldn't it need to be at the start of the road?
The start of the road is 2 miles away.
Which
Well,
road?
yeah, okay.
Which road?
But, yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But the.
But this
the
is what I was
Class
getting.
6 portion of
This is what I was, I guess some of what I'm getting at is I feel like Page Road is well-established through the entirety of Page Road and is not well-established where it's technically Jack's Bridge Road.
From Lucas on. You're saying from Lucas Road on?
No, from Jack's Bridge Road on. From, essentially, from the corner of Lucas to that old barn is Page Road. I'm asking, is it
Kelly, could you put up the GIS,
Jack's
please?
Bridge?
Thank you. Let's look at it on the GIS.
We did close public comment.
But if we are turning Jack's Bridge into Page, does that negate where that becomes Jack's Bridge?
So it's right behind you, Jake. Show me where you want to
So
start.
if I'm understanding this, Page Road technically stops at that small barn, is what that is showing. The way I'm seeing this is the improvement is on Jack's Bridge Road.
So from the small barn into the new lot.
Because that's ultimately where the improvement is from, it's Jack's Bridge Road. It's not Page Road.
Can I step up to the screen for a second and give my opinion of, just be easier this way. So roughly, they're saying that someplace in here turns from Page Road to Jack's Bridge. This gray is the driveway that she built to her barn. The right-of-way is here. I gotta be careful not to touch it. Sorry about that. we would have to start here and go in this way.
I
So
disagree.
Our construction would have to start.
I think your construction needs to start where Jack's Bridge Road starts, because that is technically what this property is located on, is Jack's Bridge Road. So while I understand that there is a driveway up to a barn, I think your improvement starts at Jack's Bridge Road.
He's saying that Jack's Bridge Road starts earlier than what should be.
What he's saying is there's a driveway all the way up to that barn. I don't disagree. What I'm saying is this lot is located on Jack's Bridge Road. So the improvement discussion needs to be discussed about Jack's Bridge Road, which from what I'm understanding starts at the little barn. So to me,
But isn't the little barn isn't shown there, right?
the little barn's the thing on top.
Yeah, it is, the little brown thing.
That,
Oh, is that, okay. I
that's the
thought-
little-
I thought that
so-
was Gio's house. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no.
I'm sorry, okay. All right. I had him
This
confused
technically
with
is a
those.
private driveway. Because is this blue line supposed to be where the right of way is?
That's the right of way, yeah.
That's
So
the
then-
property marker. That's,
You can see
and
the stone
keep in
walls.
mind, this is all not to be taken as legal.
So technically,
Legal
I think
defining.
what Jake is saying is this is a private driveway. And so if you're gonna build a driveway to one of the other lots, you gotta improve from
From there up.
here in,
Where'd you point that?
from here.
Correct, because what I'm getting at is I understand that this house is looking, or this house lot's looking to be put on Page Road. We are talking about a lot that is on Jack's Bridge Road, so we need to be discussing improvements on Jack's Bridge Road. From what I understand, Jack's Bridge Road starts here. So this is where the improvements need to start, where the 1,200 feet needs to start, everything to get over the lot, is all I'm saying. Because while I understand the corner of,
Lucas?
Page and Lucas, we're talking about a house lot on Jack's Bridge Road. That's all I'm saying.
So my only point of clarification is the Class 6 road starts at the corner of Lucas and Page.
And has that been surveyed?
That's the start of the Class 6 access to that lot.
That's fair.
So that's just my position, so. One
I
person.
think both positions are defensible.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me to start with where the Class 6 highway starts. Because that's,
So I would say if we took Jake's interpretation, I would add another condition or maybe clarify the condition that any improvements necessary to pay the Class 6 portion of Page Road to support this development would be borne by the applicant.
Any input? Good.
I agree.
We're all on the same page?
yep.
All right.
But-
Are we gonna add Lynn's?
But let's talk, the survey's a different story. Where do we want the survey to go from and to?
Still, I almost think the survey should be on Jack's Bridge Road.
So the
I
applicants.
can understand what you're saying, because it's a Class 6 road.
So this has a little bit different twist on it. The applicant's assuming that the road that's there now on Page Road is within the town's right-of-way and not on the Baranis or the Wagler's property, right? If it was proven to be so, then what would happen?
Have to be moved.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's why I think the survey should go to the corner of Lucas and
Okay.
Page.
And the simplistic way to say it is, you can only have one driveway access, one curb cut in Londonderry for your home, right? One curb cut on the main road, and your driveway goes into the house. But nobody can stop you from driving on your front lawn, right to your front door, at a different access point
I get that.
on your frontage, right? So this family compound that's been up there for 1,000 years is is they could be driving over each other's front lawns right now. And they don't care because it's theirs.
Yeah. I
But
get
as soon as someone else is driving on their front lawn, now they're not gonna be happy. And so, whose responsibility is it to make sure that that doesn't happen? We have rock walls. I don't know what rock walls mean. I have rock walls on my property. You know what they mean? Nothing. And we did the survey because I kept telling my neighbor it doesn't mean anything. And he kept putting his lawn up to the rock wall. Then I paid for a survey, and sure enough, the rock wall meant nothing. And the lot line was at a different place. So
That's why we're asking for the survey.
survey from
Yeah,
then-
no, I agree on the survey. We're just looking for
Let's throw it
illustration.
up. From the
What
corner of
happens
Lucas
after
Road up.
that? I mean, there's a million what-if scenarios that we
Yeah.
don't know until we have a survey, so.
All right.
Yeah, so you know where the, you'll know where the right-of-way really is. I think what exists, exists.
So if we're going with the survey to Lucas, I think that's where the 1,200-foot mark starts then.
Not necessarily. I think it can be two different things. Don't you think it can be? I understand
Oh, it can be.
it's easier if you do both the same, but
All right,
I think they can be different.
all right. So where's the 1,200 feet start? At Jack's Bridge Road.
I guess, why are you, I mean, this is for you, but the way I'm looking at it is, if they define the right-of-way area, and that's how they're going to gain access, then you would apply this turnaround in 1,200-foot interval to the portion that they're using to get to the property, so whatever that amounts to, right? Because that's how I read the fire department's expectation. They just want that applied for the area that they need to access. Maybe I'm oversimplifying.
So they can access what is there now,
Mm-hmm.
no problem.
Right.
But it's
Okay.
from there on to where the,
Okay.
the new building will be.
From there on is left up for interpretation, I guess.
I guess that's why I would defer to the fire department if they think that A to B is it, or if it's A to C.
Okay.
Whatever I read this condition to say, whatever this is in the view of NFPA standard and ultimately the fire department, that's what this applicant is being held to, whatever the fire department is interpreting that to be out there. I don't know as if this board has to define it.
Could you let the fire department know it would have been very nice if they answered your request to come to this meeting, please?
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's something that the town council will want to know.
All right. So we're moving.
So I'm good with 1,200 feet for the turnaround starting at the start of Jack's Bridge Road.
Okay.
But I think the survey should go for the entire distance down to Page and Lucas.
Okay.
I
So
think it's also important, Lynn, if we're gonna say that, then we say, as we interpret it, the start of Jack's Bridge Road is the little barn. Because that's what we keep saying.
Well, the survey will dictate the start of Jack's Bridge Road. Everything we can see from an existing survey shows Jack's Bridge Road starting at the barn.
Okay, that's fair, thank you.
The survey will confirm it, yep. Is the board in agreement with that on starting point of the 1,200? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So,
So what was the condition about improvements? Can you read what you captured, Kelly?
I said that you had stated, any improvements that may be needed to Page Road in relation to this property, building permit?
Yep, building permit.
The onus would be on the applicant.
Okay.
How about Jack's Bridge Road? That section.
I think that was under the assumption that it would be coming off 28 going down Page.
correct.
That's why you said Page Road.
Yeah, you can't get in the other way.
Right.
Correct.
That's
That's
the only
why.
way, yeah.
There's only
I'm
one
just
way in.
explaining why it's
Yeah.
Page
Yeah,
in this
Okay.
only one way in.
instance.
All right, looking for a recommendation, please.
So, are we done with the conditions?
I think so.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that the planning board recommend to the town council to allow to allow a building permit to be granted based on the following conditions stated in the staff's memo dated
May 7th.
May 7th, 2025, with conditions added during this planning board meeting.
And to clarify the conditions, that the added conditions are a, survey to the corner of Page Road and Lucas, and that the turnarounds to be constructed at a maximum of 1,200-foot intervals are starting at the, Jacks Bridge Road portion of this road,
As determined by the survey.
as determined by the survey. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Rugg. All in favor, starting with Ann.
Ann Champa, aye.
Lynn Miles, aye.
I, Arthur Rugg.
Jeff Penta, Jason Knights, Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. The planning board recommends to the council approval based off of what we've discussed
And
tonight.
then just note Gianni has recused
Yes,
himself.
and that Mr. Varani has recused himself from this, this item. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you, folks. All right, moving on. We have a public hearing for a waiver from section 6.01 of the site plan regulations to allow for a CO without the pavement wearing course being placed, zoned AR1 and Woodmont PUD 41 Governor Bell Drive, map 10, lot 40-103. Woodmont Apartments LLC is the owner and Wood Partners LLC is the applicant. And please make note that Mr. Varani is back on the stage. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic.
Well, I think this should be a little simpler than the last one. But, so I'm Mike Cooperman. I'm representing Wood Partners. We're the developer builder of this property on Governor Bell Drive and Michael's Way. What we're requesting is a waiver to temporarily delay the commencement of the final paving course at just a portion of the site. And I printed out some pictures here that I can.
Please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We can share.
Yeah.
So the purpose of this is we like to do the landscaping work first prior to doing the final paving course. And we're actually in a place where we're just about done with the landscaping in this area. We have a little bit more to go, but we're looking to turn over the first two buildings, which are the clubhouse and the building just south of that. We're looking to get a certificate of occupancies. We've already been signed off by the building department and the fire department. We just need the town engineer to sign off on it, to John Trottier. And then we're hoping to get a certificate of occupancy. And then probably in about a month or so, we will do the final paving course in this blue area here. Also the purpose of this is to try to make it, try to have fewer seams, during the paving. If we had to pave just a small section of the property and then another small section, you'd wind up with a lot of seams between the paving areas.
So you're just looking to do this light blue area?
I'm looking to delay the paving on this light blue area, allow the requesting a certificate of occupancy for the first two buildings, and then as probably in another month or so, we'll do this light blue area as one phase, and then we'll work our way around the job site clockwise.
All right. I'll start with staff.
So just one point of clarification for the phasing. So what was represented in the submission was the same phasing that is associated with the site plan approval, which is what I have up on the screen, separated out into 6 phases. So that would be what the board is considering in terms of how to phase the paving portion. One other note is that I had the opportunity to speak with John Trottier prior to him being on vacation, and he stated that he would not support this waiver in this instance. He notes that the waiver is typically asked for and supported during winter months in which the asphalt plants are not open. It's not feasible to pave at that time. And so the expectation remains from engineering that this be paved in accordance with the regulations.
We met with John Trottier a couple months ago. He was the one who suggested I go about this.
Correct, and he mentioned that to me as well and said that that was during a time prior to April 15th in which the asphalt plants are not open. So he was amenable to that then.
Okay. I gotta have to disagree with that because I can think of plenty of subdivisions or developments that we've granted waiving course just because they're not done construction yet, so I disagree with what's been stated here. Anything from the board?
Gianni,
So the reason why you're trying to do this is so you can finish off all your construction in terms of the landscaping, and you can create a better finished paved area without as many seams.
Right. So the first 2 buildings are ready to be turned over and
you want your CO.
get our CO. You know, we try
So
to do
it's
the
not-
landscaping
it's not like
to
you don't want to do it, but you want to do it and have a better finished product at the end.
exactly. Yeah. We
And I-
we don't want to have
Total
equipment
sense to me, but-
driving over the final
Yeah.
paved surface. We want it to be very clean.
Yeah, no, I've seen that with, going back to Page Road, with the construction that's out there, I'm dubbing it, I'm calling it the Singing Road now. Because when you go over after all the excavators went over it. Yeah, it's like, so I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. So.
All right.
Yeah,
Mr. D?
I think Arthur had his hand up before.
Mr.
I
Rudd?
did.
yeah, I think what Johnny has said was what I was gonna say. Makes sense. What do you think about 2 months? You get the landscaping done?
Maximum, yeah.
And pave the whole thing so it's all nice and smooth and
Yeah.
not a mess.
Yeah.
Everything's done at once.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense.
Well, just to clarify, it'll probably be done in say 3 separate phases of the paving, but, you know, just because they can't do the whole site at once, but, yeah.
Seems to me we just did one of these 2 meetings ago.
Yep.
And the asphalt plants were open. But my only concern with that is, in the event we need to bring emergency vehicles in,
It's currently bindered. The binder course is down, so it's paved, it just doesn't have the final wearing
right, but it's
course.
an active work site. And so, are all your egresses still available?
Yes,
Because you're asking for a CO, so you're asking to open the project to
Yes.
the general public.
we've,
And,
yeah.
and that site, that entire site was based around certain egresses, right?
So we would be fencing off the active construction zones. Once we get the CO, we would be fencing off the active construction zones, so the public will be able to come in and out and not be in any danger.
So when are all the buildings gonna be complete?
October, November timeframe.
Okay, so we're asking for 6 months. We'll go.
No, I'm only asking for about a month or 2.
No. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, but we're still giving you a CO.
The first 2 buildings are ready for a CO. I'm just trying to get those 2 buildings signed off now, and then we'll probably be paving this green area here in about a month or so. Once all the landscaping in that section of the job site is done, It's going to continue around clockwise. When the next few buildings and the green and the blue areas are done, we'll pave that area. When all the landscaping is done in those areas, then we'll pave that area. That's,
Chair, can I ask staff? This is really not you, Kelly, but you're here because John's on vacation, but I don't remember phasing this site.
This is-
Phasing. Go ahead.
This is, what I have on screen is direct from the signed approved site plan, the phasing, so it is clockwise, so the light blue, orange, green, darker blue,
it goes actually yellow then
yellow,
red.
then red, but, so when it comes to finishing the buildings and occupancy,
So it is phased then?
that's the phasing that they were approved to do it.
Got it.
But
Okay.
we're just specifically talking about the pavement in this instance. They still have to follow this phasing for
Completion of.
completion.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you, I'm all set.
We're also going to plan on striping the binder, putting parking stripes and asphalt to level out the curb cuts for ADA access.
Jason?
Yeah, it seems to me that the reason why we would reject this is because the asphalt plants are open, and that doesn't really seem like a viable reason to reject this, is just because they're making asphalt, so I'm in favor of it.
Anything else from the board?
Yeah, just one question. Are you introducing any tripping hazards like at the manholes or drains?
No, we're going to be shimming all those out, so
Perfect.
we won't have any tripping hazards.
Perfect.
Anything else from the board?
It's pretty straightforward.
All right, this is a public hearing, so I'll open up public comment. Anything from the public? With that, I will close public comment. All right, board, how would we like to move?
Chair,
Mr.
I
Rugg?
will make a motion that we approve the request of a waiver to section 6.01C of the site plan regulations to allow a CO to be issued prior to the placement of the pavement wearing course on the site.
I have a motion from Mr. Rugg. Do I have a second?
I'll second that,
Could you-
Mr. Chair.
Can you include the two conditions, please?
Yes, I failed to read them. I'm lazy. As a condition of the waiver, the applicant will be required to provide a financial guarantee for the installation of the pavement wearing course and permanent pavement markings. All set, Kelly?
There's a second one.
Number 2. Scroll up a little bit.
And also, Mr. Chair,
Keep going, keep going.
I think it's in this
Oh.
memo.
You're in
It's
the wrong
okay.
memo.
I-
Yeah, yeah.
Can I take it over?
Yep.
All right. I'm just, Art, need to
Yes.
take it over.
No, you're good. You can add to it.
You got it, Jeff.
So I would like to add, for the second condition, all other required improvements shall be completed prior to the issuance of
Okay.
a CO, except for landscaping as permitted by the regulations.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Rugg, amended by Jeff. Do I have a second?
Second amended to the motion.
Perfect. I have a second from Lynn. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
I, Ann Champa.
Aye, Giovanni Barone.
Lynn Wiles, aye.
Aye, Arthur Rugg.
Aye, Jeff Hunter.
Jason Knight's aye.
Aye, Sean Faber.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. Your waiver has been granted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
I just had to scroll further.
teamwork makes
I
the
said
dream.
I'm lazy.
All right.
Those days.
I have a public hearing on application for formal review of a subdivision, and conditional use permit of 1 lot into 2 lots. 99 Rockingham Road, map 13, lot 43, zoned AR1, and 99 Rockingham Road LLC, owner, and S&H Land Services LLC is the applicant. All right, give me 1 second here, gentlemen. We need to check this for completeness. There are some outstanding checklist items. How would the board like to act on these items?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we waive for acceptance only the 5 waivers as listed on the memorandum from staff dated May 7th, 2025.
These would be the 5 outstanding checklist items.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, checklist items 1 through 5.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Rugg. I have a second by Mr. Wiles. All in favor, starting with Ann.
I, Ann Champa.
Island Wiles?
Hi, Arthur Rugg.
Hi, Jeff Penta.
Jason Knights, aye.
Hi, Sean Faber.
John Cruiser.
And the chair has voted in the affirmative. These items have been waived for acceptance purposes only. All right. Gentlemen.
Good evening. My name's Tom Hewitt from S&H Land Services. I'm the land surveyor. I'm here with Kevin Landry. He's the property owner. And we also have the civil engineer from Emmanuel. So if there's any questions regarding engineering, they can answer that. I'll give you a brief overview of the project. It's an existing approximately 8.4 acre lot that we're looking to subdivide into 2 separate lots. These will both be for duplexes. One lot is basically just under 4 acres at 3.9. That's the 143 on your left as you look at that. And the other lot that currently does not have any construction on it will be almost 4.5 acres. There was a house there originally. This property's been in the Landry family for a long time. It was in very bad disrepair when he started rehabbing it. So he did pull a building permit to build the proposed duplex, and it's just about completed right now. Some other things, we're asking for some waivers. We're asking for a waiver to the scale of the plan, and that's basically just so that we can keep it on one sheet for a 2-lot subdivision, so we found that to be a reasonable request. We're also asking for a waiver to site distance plans because it falls on Rockingham Road, which is a state road. We've already submitted and obtained the state driveway permits, so we again feel that's a reasonable request. And we're also asking for a waiver to a traffic study, basically just because of the scale of the project. Again, it's only a 2-lot subdivision. There is an impact to the wetland buffer for the new lot because there's no way to access the buildable area without getting a crossing and impacting the buffer. So we did go to the Conservation Commission because we need a conditional use permit for that to impact the buffer. So we did go to that, and we did get the support of the Conservation Commission. We also are asking for relief around the lot 43-1 to reduce the buffer to 25 feet from 50 only during grading so that they can grade around during construction. And then the commission asked us to not put down regular grass seed, but to do a conservation mix, which we will do, and of course put up the placards and other things. We have all permits in hand from the state with regards to state subdivision, driveway, and the wetland crossings. And I'll turn this over to Kevin now, if you want to add something.
Welcome, my name is Kevin Landry. Sorry. This property's been in my family for over 45 years. Doing the history on the property back in '53, it was 2 lots. My grandfather at one point deeded it as 1. We're ultimately trying to reverse time and separate it back to 2. And we're ultimately, my wife and my son and I are the ones doing all the work. And we're just trying to go through all the right channels to do everything right. When we originally did the original house to do the renovations, I've had many meetings with the building inspector, Nick, to go over the problems we've encountered, and we've now come to the solution. We've had to redo the entire house due to termites and rot and infestation, etc. So this is just another step in the process, so it's a pleasure to meet you and come to this point.
So be happy to answer any questions.
All right, I'll start with town staff.
Oh, right, hi. So let's see. Oh, right, for the waivers, did I just read these off? Okay. The applicant is requesting a waiver from checklist item 10.4 and LSR 314 relating to providing a traffic analysis. Staff supports the granting of this waiver. 2, the applicant is requesting a waiver from Exhibit D2 of the LSR requirement of providing a site distance plan and profile. Staff supports the granting of this waiver as state permits for both driveways have been granted. 3, the applicant is requesting a waiver from Section 4.01C of the LSR to allow a scale of 1 to 50. Staff supports this waiver as the plan is legible at this scale. And then, oh yeah, okay. For the CUP, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit per Londonderry zoning ordinance section 4614A. The applicant has requested a conditional use permit to allow a permitted use in the Conservation Overlay District. The Conservation Commission has recommended approval of the CUP with the following conditions. A, allow grading in the outermost 25-foot buffer. B, use construction mixed seed in outermost 25-foot buffer where disturbed. C, designate on plan a snow storage area outside of the 50-foot buffer. And D, install buffer signs at 50-foot line as required by the regulations. So based on this information available, staff recommends that the planning board approve the CUP with the notice of decision to read substantially as follows. Do I? Okay.
Anything else?
And then I had a couple of additions to that, just to indicate the percentage and acreage of the wetlands on the plan. It had the acreage, but not the percent. Pretty minor thing. And what? To allow access to the. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay,
One thing
fantastic.
from me, if you
Kelly.
don't mind. I'm going to attempt to
You're good?
read the engineering items. Only one, though, that I feel is prominent enough to point out. Under design review items in the engineering memo 3A, it states that and this is in relation to the stormwater report, states the report doesn't appear to identify each abutter and demonstrate compliance of no increase in runoff per the regulations. So the recommendation is to revise the report to indicate that. When I read this, I felt it's important enough to bring the board's attention, as obviously it's discussing an abutting property and a potential impact relating to runoff. So just wanted to highlight that for the board.
Thank you. All right, I will start with the board. Anybody got anything?
I think that runoff thing that Kelly just said, the 3A, is probably the most important thing in the whole report.
Yeah,
Yes.
so Kelly, help me with that. Design review is coming up. Third-party engineering is saying not every abutter has been identified.
So, do you want me to read this comment in its entirety? 'Cause
Well, I
kinda skipped around.
read 3A. I'm just asking for a little bit
So
more.
essentially, there's a requirement in the regulations that states that, and this is the case with any new development, that you cannot increase runoff to abutting properties.
Mhm.
Well, you need to prove that you are, in fact, not adding additional runoff to abutting properties. And my interpretation of this comment is that's yet to be proven
Okay,
in its entirety.
okay.
Which is why it emphasizes each abutter, is the way I'm understanding it.
Okay.
Okay, so the abutters have been identified, but it doesn't really state that in the report. That,
And this is, again, this is specific to the stormwater, so.
We could address that, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like.
Yeah, let us get through the board first, and then I'll come
Thank
back to you guys. Anything else from the board? All right, sir.
Nick?
Hi, so I'm Nick Bouchard from Emmanuel Engineering. I worked on the grading and drainage design, and in our drainage calcs, we did provide a table that shows we're decreasing our, I'm going to bring this up to look at it. We're showing the pre and post for all storm events and showing that we are decreasing both the peak flow and the runoff for all the storm events. So yeah, I wasn't.
For each property? For each abutter?
Yeah, we're only. So we're only having stormwater runoff is, I guess, kind of going this way. kind of along Rockingham Road. That's the only abutter that we have runoff.
Does your report identify that there's no runoff on the other abutters for?
Guess we didn't specifically state it. That's something we can easily add.
Yeah, so, if I may?
Yep.
So as I understand the regulations,
Yep.
any abutter that is on your list, when it comes to runoff, if there's zero runoff onto that property, then you need to state that. So the lot, the abutter, and the amount of runoff. And we need to do that so that we can protect all of those abutters, because you can't drain water from a construction site or a finished project onto someone else's land
Mm-hmm.
without some kind of a mitigation. And so I
Okay,
believe
so-
that's what he's asking for.
Okay, so just stating that there's no runoff to the abutters.
Data
Individually.
Can we make that a condition of approval?
Yeah.
If
That
you
engineering
condition-
does?
These would all the design review items would be a condition of approval.
Correct, and
correct?
just to
Well, we can
clarify
specifically
further about
state it.
that, it's not just state it, it's prove it. So I just want to make sure that's
Yes,
clear.
yeah, there needs to be
By way
there
of
needs to be the mathematics
calculation.
behind it
There you
that proves, yes, absolutely,
Engineering has to approve it.
Correct,
absolutely.
and yes, so the, all of the conditions, so the items in the engineering memo, as well as the remaining DRC comments, would be conditions of approval should the
Okay.
board choose to make that decision this evening.
Plus the checklisted items that we've waived
Correct.
for
Correct.
acceptance. Okay. Anything else from the board? All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, I will close public comment. All right, we have a couple things to work on here. The first is the conditional use permit. I am looking for a recommendation.
do the
I'm sorry, I gotta go to the waivers first. Yep.
Waivers first.
All right, we have 3 waivers. I am looking for a recommendation on these 3 waivers.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we grant the waivers 1, 2, and 3 as stated on staff memorandum dated May 7th, 2025. And they are a waiver from the checklist for item, is that 10.4, Kristen?
10.4, yes.
Yeah, 10.4, and preliminary site regulations 3.1 for relating to providing traffic analysis. Staff supports the applicant's request to exhibit D2 of the preliminary site plan regulations, providing a site distance plan and profile. Staff supports, and then applicant is requesting a waiver to section 4.01C of the preliminary site plan regulations to allow a scale of 1 inch to 50 feet. Staff supports the waiver also. So those are the 3 waivers.
Can you add, give us A, B, or C for why we're supporting these waivers?
Oh,
please?
okay. Granting the waiver is not going to allow any substantial detriment to the public good.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Second by Mr. Wiles. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
I, Ann Champa.
Giovanni Barani, aye.
Lynn Wiles, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Hunt, aye.
Jason Knights, aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. The 3 waivers have been granted. All right. I have a conditional use permit that we are, the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit to allow a permitted use in the Conservation Overlay District. The Conservation Commission has recommended approval of the CUP with the following conditions. Allow grading in the outermost 25-foot buffer. Use construction mixed seed in the outermost 25-foot buffer where disturbed. Designate on plan a snow storage area outside of the 50-foot buffer and install buffer sides at a 50-foot line as required by the regulations. I am looking for a motion on that.
Art, I can take this one.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to grant approval of the conditional use permit for 1,554 square feet of wetlands impact and 8,000 square feet of wetland buffer impact for grading purposes with the conditions outlined by the Conservation Commission.
I have a motion by Jeff. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
A second by Lynn. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
Ann Champa, aye.
Giovanni Barani, aye.
Lynn Wiles, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Jason Knight's aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. Your conditional use permit has been granted. All right, I am looking for a motion on a conditional approval.
Mr. Chair, I will move that we grant conditional approval of a subdivision plan for 99 Rockingham Road, tax map 13, lot 43 and 43-1, zoned agricultural residential 1. 99 Rockingham Road LLC is the owner and S&H Land Services is the applicant. In accordance with plans prepared by the S&H Land Services LLC dated December 24th, 2024, and last revised April 9th, 2025.
I have a motion from Mr. Rugg. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Second from Lynn. All in favor, starting with Ann.
Ann Champa, aye.
Giovanni Barani, aye.
Lynn Wiles, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Jason Knight's aye.
Sean Faber, aye.
John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. This has been conditionally approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. We have a public hearing on an application for formal review of a site plan to construct two commercial buildings totaling 3,200 square feet and 7,500 square feet, along with the associated site improvements at 59 Rockingham Road, map 13, lot 60-3, zone C2, Rockingham Road Holdings LLC is the owner. Freestone Holdings LLC is the applicant. Good evening, everybody. As they are getting set up here, we can check this for completeness. It looks like we have one outstanding application, one outstanding checklist item. The applicant's submission did not provide the owner's signature on the existing conditions plan or site per section 4.03C and 4.12.C.16 of the site plan regulations and items V.13 of the checklist. I'm looking for a motion to grant this for acceptance only.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to grant completeness for acceptance only. Do I have a second?
Have a second, Mr. Chair?
I have a second. All in favor, starting with Ann, please say aye.
Ann Champa, aye.
Giovanni Barani, aye.
Lynn Wiles, aye.
Arthur Rugg, aye.
Jeff Penta, aye.
Jason Knight's aye. Sean Faber, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. This waiver has been accepted, or excuse me, this has been accepted for completeness only. All right. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Earl Sanford of Sanford Surveying and Engineering, and been working with the owner, who's next to me, Adnan Sojovic. Did I say it right? Close enough. So, yeah, we were before you in 21 to subdivide off, I believe it's a 7-acre parcel, in which the plan was to come back fairly quickly with the site plan, although it took some, we had some setbacks in the process, but we finally got it submitted last year. We've gone through 2 review process meetings with staff and with engineering. We submitted the 3rd submission a little over a month ago. I haven't heard back, but I think we've addressed all the outstanding comments. Certainly, I think the original plan had the signature of the owner, whatever, but we certainly can take care of the administrative part that's missing. So, as you can see before you, you've got just a general overview off of Rockingham Road, next to the, I want to say auto body shop, but it's the parcel that this came out of is the existing in the lower left corner of the plan. This used to be all one parcel, and they subdivided off with the easement so that we could use a common curb cut off of Rockingham Road. We've gone through all the licensing process or permitting process with the state and have their approval. We've gone, we stayed under the 100,000 square feet, so it did not require an AOT. But we do have a fair amount of impervious in there, and we've addressed that with, we have treatment through a treatment swale. We have a detention swale as well that we worked out with the state, and then a detention basin, and then the roof water is going out the backside to a vegetated filter strip. So we've even though it's not an AOT, we've used the AOT standards for stormwater management, treatment, and detainment. We've gone through. We've got the septic is designed. I'm not sure if the approval has come through.
The state did approve it.
Okay, the approval did come through for the septic that will serve both those buildings. There's a one well will serve both as well. We went through quite a few changes after the fire department sent us their turning radiuses and turnaround requirements, and made sure that we could accommodate their vehicle movements, and we should be a letter in the file that it was deemed acceptable. That's, I mean, the buildings, it is a challenging site because it's very ledgy. We have done our best to try and get above the ledge wherever we could to minimize blasting. I guess those are the major points. We were, most of the water just heads to, in this, well, I don't know what, is my north arrow? Where is it on that? But it's on the sheet, the upper left-hand corner of what you're looking at is basically where all the drainage wants to go, as well as onto the highway. It all slopes down to the highway with a little bit, it's almost right in the corner. We've had some conversation with the abutter, letters and emails, and we've pulled the detention basin back from the 15-foot buffer that where it was within in the first submission. So we've addressed comments again from engineering and from Sylvia, who was at two of the meetings representing, I guess, the town planner or other representing this board in terms of review. I guess, I mean, it's been a long slog. We started over a year ago, but we've been able to meet again with staff to try and get this to something that would be acceptable and approvable, is our hope. I'll pass it off to you in terms of any questions or comments.
All right, I am going to start with town staff.
So they're asking for one waiver from section 4.01C relating to the maximum scale of 1 inch to 40 feet. The applicant has submitted various scales. The existing conditions plan is 1 to 50. The only plan which both abutters are identified. It is requested the applicant be more specific regarding which specific sheets are part of the request for the waiver. Also, it is recommended that the applicant provide a site plan at 1 to 50 so the impacts to the abutters can be readily highlighted and analyzed. I had some other small comments. So regarding landscaping, the applicant proposes to utilize existing on-site vegetation either in its current location as visual screening or through transplantation to other areas of the site in accordance with section 3.10.d of the site plan regulations, which encourages the preservation of existing vegetation. It is recommended the applicant clearly identify all vegetation to be preserved. This should include the details such as species, size, condition, point of origin, intended use, and the proposed methodology for transplantation or repurposing. The applicant should provide a comprehensive list of proposed transplant species along with the detailed specifications outlining the transplanting procedures and responsible parties. And then on sheet 4, under legend continued in plant schedule, the botanical names listed should be italicized. And I ask that the setback lines on sheets 2, 4, and 5 be labeled. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna do my best here.
Can I just address those, or is that?
Let's let Kelly get
I'm
through
gonna go
first.
first.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I did briefly speak with John Trotter, who's the Director of Engineering, about this. He, to summarize best I can, stated that he would prefer that the engineering-related comments be further addressed prior to a conditional approval. And my best summation of that is that there's still a remaining stormwater permit that's needed, and that should be submitted in accordance with the regulations. And then there are additional comments relating to the drainage analysis, specifically post-development analysis, diagrams that reference subcatchment areas, another item related to the post-development pond calculations, and then again, specific to the drainage analysis report, and making sure that an inspection and maintenance manual is provided. Okay.
Thank you. All right. I'll let you guys, before we get to the board here, you sounded like you had a little bit you wanted to say.
Okay. Well, the comments that were read were from Sylvia prior to this last submission, and I believe we've addressed them all. So I'm not sure. Didn't we have this discussion on the phone?
We did.
And I went through how we had done all the plant listing and the purpose of the scale. We did it to 50 so that you could see in entirety the abutter's house. That was the comment there. We've addressed those. So that's, I'm a little flustered that we're taking comments that are from two meetings back and when they've been addressed. And my notes address them too in my letter.
If they are conditions, which if that is the route the board goes, we'll verify they're addressed.
Okay.
And they'll go away.
And then yeah, I guess, I mean, I talked to John and he didn't want to be, he commented how he didn't like being blindsided at the meeting. He's had this for 5 weeks to review our third set of comments. I haven't seen any of these last minute comments.
So I take a little bit of issue with the comments about I haven't seen, I haven't heard, I haven't spoken to. As was just pointed out by the applicant, a conversation was had with our town planner prior to this meeting. With respect to formal reviews, as the board is well aware, we generally don't get the review comments out prior to the meeting. However, we've done a little bit better with that, and this was sent out, I believe, yesterday to the applicant. I understand that is the day before the meeting. Prior to that, there were many, many, many meetings and discussions, as was outlined by the applicant, about this property and project. So there's been plenty of communication about the expectation from the town staff and our regulations. Just want to make sure that's clear.
And I've addressed every single one in the letter, so that's, but yeah, I mean, and John said specifically that the stormwater management thing, that it's also tied with the NOI and that could be a condition. And so I don't understand why he's using that as a don't approve basis after he explicitly told me otherwise.
And again, just to clarify, the request from Mr. Trotter was to further address the conditions related to the engineering memo prior to a conditional approval. He's not asking the board to deny the project.
Understood. Thank you. All right, I'm going to start with the board. Anybody have any comments here? Mr. Rugg?
Building renderings, do you have those? And signage also.
I know, signage, I think, is down towards the bottom, Kelly.
The signage is one of the
I haven't
detail
seen
sheets.
renderings.
Okay, that's usually toward the end.
I don't have anything in my packet that I can
I
see.
didn't see anything on what I received.
There's signage somewhere in the plans.
There is signage, but there's no renderings.
There's no rendering.
Renderings, no elevations.
Yeah.
It's in there. Department package, that is Appendix A2. Our transmittal says it's in there.
Page 12, guys.
Attachment A2 was submitted on,
Well, that's the sign.
I have the signage,
On
yeah, I
two-
see the signage here.
Signage is
on
there.
4, whatever, that's,
I'll see if I can add it, if I have it.
Okay, how tall are those buildings, please?
um,
What's the ridge height?
glasses.
Yeah, me either.
24.8 is that one, and this one is slightly higher, but I think it's 32, although I'm not seeing the dimension. I don't know whether you remember.
And they're 18 at the eave, and then they follow, I think, a 3-1 pitch. So the wider building is slightly taller, so maybe
3 to 12, or a 3 pitch,
3 pitch.
yeah.
So that should be in the renderings as part of the application, because we have a height requirement in the town.
Oh, it is 28 feet, I'm sorry.
That's not the peak.
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, that's the piece.
Sorry, we don't have it in our packets for some reason. Kelly went upstairs to try and add them electronically.
The renderings were in a previous submittal that weren't included in this most recent one, that's why it's not
Okay.
in the.
Well, that doesn't help us.
What's the material the buildings are made?
The metal fab.
They're metal-clad buildings.
Metal?
Yeah.
And colors?
We went through with the historic committee, and they concluded that we would go with barn red for the one that's closer to the road.
Oh, yes.
And they're also putting up a barn-like loft door, although it'll be faux. But to try and give a little bit of a,
All right. I want to talk a little bit about, while we're waiting on Kelly here, we got to talk about what I'm seeing here for turning and entering and fire trucks and everything else that's put up with it here.
Well, that was for the fire department that you've got the memo that he's okay with that.
So,
Plus, this might not be the final edition that we have in front of us.
yeah.
No, it should be.
No, this is the final. So,
Oh.
I see some fire truck entering wheel paths. I see it says Londonderry fire trucks. Do you have a dimension on what that is?
It was what was given us by the fire chief, or the fire, it wasn't the chief, it was someone else.
Brian?
Yes.
Brian Johnson.
All right. So, but those are not noted on the plan what the sizes are, so I can't confirm that. I understand you're going based off of what the fire department gave you, but I don't have anything on this plan that illustrates what the sizes of the truck is on the turning and entering wheel path. So while I understand that you're saying you did these based off of what the fire department's requirements are, there's nothing in your plan that states that this does actually fit what our fire department's trucks are, if that makes sense.
Well, again, I mean, I would think you would defer to Brian, who is the expert on this.
Sorry. So the way we do things is everything's in writing on the plans.
Correct.
That's how it's done. So everything has to be delineated, all the radius curves, the size of the truck. Those things have been on plans for years and years and years. And because fire inspectors change, right? Trucks change, who said what to who did what to who signed what form. We're signing off on it, we have to see it. That's kinda how it works.
I guess, yeah, I can add those.
Thank you.
I'm surprised that didn't come into, with two staff meetings and.
Well, that's why you also have to come
Sir,
here.
We're just clarifying, so we are not playing, we don't have time to play he said, she said, what said, who said.
Understood.
We're clarifying this stuff, so if we could just stop with the.
I understand.
the he said,
I
she said stuff,
apologize. It's just my frustration of, it's been a
I
long
hear ya.
process.
We're going through this, we're gonna ask the clarifying questions, we're gonna find the information, we're gonna hopefully set you up for success. That's our goal here. I'm done with the.
I
he
agree.
said, she
I'm
said.
sorry.
Just bear with me here because we have a very new website that's giving me a very difficult time finding what I'm looking for.
So I have one other question, Mr. Chair, if that's
Sure.
okay? So,
Yep.
you mentioned one well servicing two buildings, which are about 10,000 square feet, a little more than 10,000 square feet total. Is that
They're
correct?
warehouse-type buildings, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna have a lot of
Right, but
demand.
did the fire department require a sprinkler system inside the buildings?
Not that I know of. I believe that, I believe the answer is no, but but I can't say for certain, so we need to get that verified if you haven't gotten it.
That come in at the permitting process, because we still need to
The building permit.
get building permits for the
Well,
building.
but you would need to know that well ahead of the building permit. This is now the time when you need to know, because if you gotta put sprinklers in those buildings and you only have one well, and you're also taking domestic water off of that well, you might have a problem with one well, right?
Good point.
Just saying. So, I don't know of many commercial buildings that are being built currently that we've seen that don't have sprinkler systems in there. Am I wrong in that, board? Am I misremembering, or?
No.
So,
Yeah.
something needs to be asked and answered.
For sure, I
Thank you.
agree.
Kelly, you gotta help me out a little bit here.
Yep.
This new website is just
What do we need?
really killing me. I'm trying to figure out,
well
I'm
get
trying to
used to.
find the fire department's requirements for their apparatus on the website, but new websites. Inspection requirements and laws, maybe?
Yeah, and I will, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
point out that we actually did it originally for a full-blown tractor trailer.
Tractor trailers move much differently than a fire truck.
I agree. But it was, yeah, so the tractor trailer design made this a conservative design when it comes to the fire truck.
Have you seen our ladder truck?
Again, I'm just going by what I was given.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what I'm saying. It has to fit what our equipment has.
Right.
What we have in our town for equipment. And that snorkel truck, that's a big truck.
Right.
Just bear with me here, because before I can even talk about anything else, I need to find this thing. I just can't find it.
That's how it always goes.
I'm looking for listed on the website is usually a very specific for applicants dimensional requirements of the fire truck turning radius study that is usually on the fire department's website. We have a very new website in the past couple weeks, so I can't find where exactly it is. It's gotta be.
Here you go. Right?
Yeah.
That looks like what we were given.
All right, so Where'd you find that, Kelly?
On the fire department website.
Kelly! All
So
right.
she found it by accident.
Yeah, no
No,
kidding.
I just searched it. I searched turning radius and this popped up.
You turning radius?
Yeah. On the fire department website.
Truck one turning radius.
I
All right.
wasn't attempting to be facetious, but that's how it came.
You were. It's all right.
Yeah, Jake, it's right there.
So which truck is this that this next sheet is for?
This is for, would be our biggest piece of equipment.
That's the biggest one.
Correct.
Yeah. I also like how this says page 1 of 2, there's one page, so I don't know how you wanna take that.
All right, turning requirements, 56-foot outer diameter and a 30-foot inner diameter. So, talk to me, you folks have a note on here that says, the Londonderry fire truck turning requirement is a 56-foot outer diameter and 30-foot inner diameter. Could you show me on here where we represent the 30-foot inner diameter and the 56 outer diameter?
You're talking about on the plan?
Yep.
Yes.
On your plan, I see your note. I see your note that says the fire truck turning requirement is a 56-foot outer diameter and a 30-foot inner diameter.
Yeah.
Is that the turning radius?
It's the radius that's cut by the wheels, whether it be the inside or the front left, it depends on which way you're turning, but it defines the corridor that truck can fit comfortably through.
So the question is, where on that
Where
plan
on-
does it show that?
No. What I'm asking is where on the turning performance analysis from Pierce discusses a 56-foot outer diameter and a 30-foot inner diameter?
It would be based on scale, in which I've been told I need to put the numbers on, so I get that.
Okay.
But if you were to throw the scale in there, you'd see that all those radiuses are comply.
Okay. So that, we would need,
Feet 6 inches, 37.
curb to curb, 37 feet, 45 feet. From there to there,
Diagonal,
it's 45 feet 2 inches. So is that the 50, is that the outer diameter that he's discussing?
That'd be the outer diameter.
This is inside turning radius.
Yep.
This doesn't say. Does this pop up a little bit, Kelly? This one?
Sorry.
Nope, doesn't say.
Looks like wall to wall is out.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, that's wall to wall. And then curb to curb is this one. This inside one.
So wall to wall is 45 feet. So you're saying this can handle a 56-foot?
Right, because it was designed for the tractor trailer.
All right. So, looking at the plan here, walk me through what it looks like to get up to the top of this facility and turn around.
All right, if you start with the top, here's a fire truck entering. Do I need to move this mic, or is it okay?
Speak loud.
You can just, we just put it up on the edge of the, right there.
All right. So this is the fire truck entering, making the turn into the, this is the common area here. It's entering, and we had to widen this because they didn't want it to go into the, well, that was for the tractor trailer. They didn't want it to go into the opposing lane. So we did some improvements to make sure that could happen. So the
Kelly,
front.
can you scroll to the fire truck one, Kelly, page 18? Thank you. There you go, Tom.
So the thin line represents the front bumper. As it comes around, these are computer generated, but so the front bumper as it comes around, and then it kind of equalize and comes up around, and he's able to then stop here, not be conflicting with any parking or anything. So that gets you in, and if there's a fire, he can work from the air or back or maneuver. The next detail shows starting from where he ended up here, he's able to back into open parking lot space and then exit either to building A or out to the road. Then if you're going out to the road, there was concern that it wouldn't go into the opposing lane. So this is kind of a continuation. He's backed up, he's come out through, it's showing the front tire, the back tire, the thin line is the bumper, and he's making it onto Rockingham Road. And then these details show if there were a fire, you would have access to come into the parking lot, work your magic from there, and from there you have an option of backing out and then doing this turning thing, and that's where I have the option 1, 2, and 3 to building A. Option 1 is pull in per F3, which would be this one here, to a position, depart backing from 1R to 2F. Let's see. Where did I put the, oh, that's in here. Okay, so I labeled it. So 1R to 2F, and then you could come forward and do a 2-point turn and go out. That's this option here, without having to go up to building B. Option 2, same as option 1, except back up the same as entering and proceed to the upper lot to turn around. And then option 3, proceed initially to the upper lot, turn around there, and then come down and head first, and then all you'd need to do is back and go out. So I'm giving 3 options for maneuvering into building A.
Building A is
That's the
closer
lower-
to 28,
yeah,
the lower
yeah.
building, correct? Okay,
With not anywhere near as much maneuverability, but
okay.
enough to.
Now, let's look at F2 fire truck reversing to building B. So we have an emergency. Our fire department has come up to building B. Now, because this is a working active commercial lot, let's put a tractor trailer in it in your loading bay. How's my fire truck getting out of here?
Your tractor trailer, for one, they have loading like once every 6 months on this, so they don't have they're not a trucking, so you're talking about a de minimis occurrence. Most of it is box trucks that are active. They don't park them there, so if a driver's there, I would think he would want to move his truck right away just because there's a fire, but they'd be parking in a temporary spot, just like anyone along a road. You know, you can't, the good thing is it would be active. They don't own the trucks. That's someone making a delivery and then moving away. And most everything is box trucks that aren't anywhere near this big. So, yeah, it would be like a UPS.
Okay. So, now let's go to F1, fire truck entering, excuse me, I'm sorry. Let's go to F4, fire truck reversing from building A, or where we're getting them in front of building A. Again, I've got a 4 truck reversing from building A in your tractor trailer thing. Looks like you have a loading bay down there.
No, that's just an overhead door to drive in. If you're talking, there's nothing on the front for loading.
So there's no loading docks inside of this.
Correct.
This building A does not have a loading dock.
Nor does building B. It's an
Okay.
overhead door.
But it does, I mean, ultimately, trucks and equipment are going to pull up to these to perform deliveries or or what have you, correct?
Correct.
So you've got a delivery at Building A in the front of Building A, and the building's on fire, and our fire department needs to get to it.
I hope that UPS driver scoots out of there fast. That's, you know, I think they're trained. I mean, am I not making sense, or?
No, I'm just asking some questions here. What is, if I'm looking at, one, truck entering wheel path, which looks like your tractor trailer's here. What am I looking at? What is that, a car turning radius that I'm looking at? That's kind of overlaid under the tractor trailer?
Which one?
One, truck entering wheel path, right on the sharp curve going into Building A. Are you just showing what it is for like a passenger vehicle? Is that what I'm seeing?
Ooh, I wonder if you do have an earlier version. Because
On the fire truck?
No, this is on your, I'm sorry, I should have been a little bit more specific for you.
Oh.
This is on your tractor trailer.
Oh, yeah, that was just a regular passenger car showing how it can, plenty of maneuverability for your typical car going into park.
Okay. Before I keep going, does the board have anything?
I just had a question.
Great job.
Yeah, I got a question on
Been grilled this
landscaping.
much in ages.
Huh?
Question on landscaping.
Landscaping, absolutely.
White pine, they lose their lower limbs as they grow.
Correct. Yes.
But one of the things, you do have white pine on there. The problem with them, as they grow, they lose the lower limb, and if you look for a barrier, something scenic, you're gonna lose it. So either like a spruce tree, there's a certain species of white pine, I think, do not lose the lower limbs, but I don't know what that is. I'm not a landscaper or a botanist or anything. I just know what I see.
And I'm no expert on landscape.
Yeah, you would want to see something like a Serbian spruce or a Norway spruce, something that keeps its lower branches a little bit better.
And the other is the use of purple lilac, which happens to be the state flower. It would be good to, they look pretty. They smell nice, too.
All right. Anything else from the board here?
Fire suppression's only gonna have to be in one of the buildings. Because it's over 5,000 square feet, one of them's 7,500. The 3,000 shouldn't require, but the 7,500 definitely will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
So I'm showing it one building with 3 roll-up doors and another one with 1 roll-up door on the gable end. Is that correct?
That's correct. The one on the gable end will be the barn look.
I don't know, if we ever approved a plan that didn't have renderings with colors and
No.
stuff?
I don't, well, yes, I think we have. I do think we have. I should correct
I think
myself
we
on
got an idea.
that. This has been to the Heritage Commission?
Right.
Yes.
Did they
We do
provide
have
colorings or
color
renderings? at
renderings
Heritage?
as well.
Before I finish, I'm going to open public comment and then bring it back to the board.
And I
Any-
apologize, our plotter doesn't do color.
No,
But
all
he did
good.
have some color, so.
All good.
We
I
did
apologize.
provide color
Heritage
renderings and they
Commission
were
approved
reviewed
it?
at the Heritage
Okay.
Board.
I'm going to open up public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment.
You're not for it?
Yeah. Anything else? Anything else from us folks up here before I kind of finish up what I'm seeing here? I see a very big safety issue on this site. I don't say that very often. I see this as a massive safety issue. There's one way in, there's one way out. If there is any sort of truck inside of this facility, our public safety equipment cannot get out of here. I see this blot as a huge safety issue. Never mind anything else that's been discussed here tonight about fire suppression and everything like that. I think I would certainly need to have a very long conversation with the fire department before I feel comfortable about this. Because to be honest with you, I'm shocked that they don't have a problem with this. This is what I'm getting at is, We have two buildings that if there's a truck parked at either of those buildings, our fire services cannot perform what they need to do. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that, but that's how I feel looking at this, and I'm incredibly concerned about it. It's a difficult lot to begin with. It's up a hill. There's gonna be some serious grade change here. It's one way in, it's one way out, and I think there's a very big potential for a safety issue on this lot.
But wouldn't that have been something that Brian took into account?
That's why, before I can do anything, Mr. Johnson needs to be sitting right there and needs to have a very long conversation with us.
May I bring up one point?
Sure.
You can see the Rockingham Road there, and you can see that our driveway is wider than Rockingham Road. It was made extra wide to provide access. So that is a state highway and we made our driveway wider than it because it's a difficult site to allow.
And I understand that, and I can see that. But when asked the question, what do we do when there's a tractor trailer parked up here, which to your point, okay, for them, it's only 6 times a year, whatever. They can sell this building tomorrow to somebody that's got 5 deliveries a day. Your response was, well, we hope they can move the truck fast. That's not responsible on our end as the town of Londonderry, hoping that a truck can move fast. So to your point, I do see the improvement that's been made down here to make sure that we can get equipment in and out. I do not see it up here. And I do see that, God forbid, something happens on this site that is an issue that requires our fire department. This is going to be a big issue. And that's why I would need to see Brian here before we make any decision on that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, but I'm certainly looking for a motion to continue this if somebody will entertain it.
So to that point, Mr. Chair, I would also like to ask him, how come they've been so insistent on commercial sites about having fire trucks be able to get to all 4 corners of the building? Why this site is okay?
As I said, I feel as though that Mr. Johnson needs to be here and discuss this with us before I can have any level of comfort discussing. I think we've got some waivers on this and ultimately an approval.
Mr. Chair, could I just add, I apologize if I missed it, but was the fire department comment ever read?
I was looking at it. I don't know if it was read, but I was looking at it.
I just want to give context of what the comment was and then what your expectation is. I have it, so.
Yeah, if you
The
could.
comment that the fire department provided during the design process was that the truck turn analysis should be provided with the Londonderry apparatus turn information provided on the Londonderry Fire Department website, and then that the fire department has no other concerns at this time.
And that's exactly why I need Brian to be here and have
Understood.
a conversation.
Yep.
Because while this may be meeting a turning radius, assuming that, as he said, he has used our required turning radiuses, while they're showing this meets a turning radius, there's a real safety issue here. And I need to hear from Brian as to how he's not concerned about it. And if Brian doesn't have a concern about it, then that's a conversation the board could have. But right now, I see a very big safety issue with this lot. Could I get a motion for a continuance, please?
You want to handle the waiver first, and then we do
No.
that? No, okay. Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that we continue this plan to June 11th.
Yeah, I'd take
2025,
either
7
the
p.m.
4th or the 11th, whatever will work for the applicant and Kelly.
I guess I'm not quite sure the date because I don't know when Brian Johnson's available.
So let's do a continuance based off of the fire department's availability.
So you need to pick a date certain, but I just wanted to state that I don't know if the fire department's going to be available June 4 or 11. So
we'll just stick with the 11th.
Yes, we'll pick a date. If we need to change the date, we will.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr.
I
Chair.
have a second by Lynn. All in favor, starting with Ann, please.
Ann Champa, aye.
Giovanni Verani, aye.
Lynn Wiles, aye.
Aye, Arthur Rugg.
Aye, Jeff Penta. Jason Knights, aye. Sean Faber, aye. John Cruz, aye.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. This has been continued to June the 11th, 2025. Kelly, if you could request that We have some representatives from the fire department here. I would greatly appreciate it.
Brian.
Gentlemen, thank you, and we'll see you next month.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on here. I believe that is our last agenda item.
So I have one thing, Mr. Chair.
We have other business. Other business. Mr. Wiles.
So at the beginning of the meeting, we talked about projects of regional impact. Kelly, there was a project in the read file of regional impact.
City of Manchester.
City of Manchester.
Yeah, so I would prefer if we could bring that up at the next meeting, only because I didn't have the electronic documents for the board to review as it relates to that.
Okay, so we just got the paper document right now.
So just for
Sounds like there's more to it than,
for context, this is not a Londonderry project of development, regional impact. This is a notice that we received from Manchester, and I wanted the board to have the full plan before we reviewed it.
so you feel as though you'll have more information come the next meeting, so we can be a little bit more in
That
tune with
is
it.
what I would prefer, yes.
Fantastic. Anything else?
I got a question, but before I ask it, I want to ask whether or not I can ask it. So what's the question? Well, it's regarding the Page Road property, and I did recuse myself for that. So is that something I can ask in other business?
Are you speaking as an abutter to the property? I guess that seems like
You know,
if I have to say yes or no, I would
Yeah.
say no.
Yeah.
If you're,
Yeah,
if you're questioning.
It's-
so
Yeah.
If it's procedural, I think
not
you're okay. If it's
procedural.
an opinion or input,
it's more
I wouldn't recommend it.
policy, but I wanted to be I wanted to be
Yeah, I think
wanna
you
err on the side
might
of
be
caution.
toting the line on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I have a few things.
Please, the floor is yours, sir.
So I'd like to, for you, please, to review protocol on emails that we receive as individual board members from, citizens.
Sure. So generally speaking, if we receive an email from a citizen, it should be discussed or shared to the chair and have any response to any emails from the chair representing the board as opposed to a single member representing the board. So let's bring it to the chair. We can have some discussion about it if we need it, and then I can answer it.
That's
Okay.
correct.
So on the email, I assume we all got it, or most of us got it, or some of us got an email. Are you going to address that, or?
Yeah, and I can respond back to the email itself. It is with regard to everything that's going on up at the State House with,
Land use.
changes to land use, current proposed bills, all of that. For me, I personally see it as I have my own opinion on it. It's not an opinion that at this time is appropriate for discussion at a board level because this board works off of regulations and laws. So until I know what the outcome is of these regulations and laws, I feel as though this board shouldn't have an opinion on it because we work off of regulation and law. And those are just proposed. If anybody disagrees, you're more than welcome to have a conversation with me, but that is my stance on it.
That's how we've operated in the past. Jake.
Absolutely.
Yep, so I just wanted to be clear on that because
agree with that.
it was an email that I would love to have answered, but I know we do have, I thought we had a protocol, but I don't think we've ever talked about it in a meeting.
Correct. And I will answer it. We got it a little before the meeting. Usually I can get back to people.
Yes.
Yeah, usually I can get back to people relatively quickly, but haven't had time today. But I will certainly get it answered over the coming days here to provide a response as I always have.
So, the next item that I have, Mr. Chair, is, there's two things happened at the town council. level on Monday, and one of them was a remark from the general public saying that the planning board does not have public comment. I don't think the person who said it meant to say it that way, but because it was said that way, it needs to be corrected. So I want to say, as a matter of public record, that the planning board does take public comment, but we only take public comment on cases that have been noticed in the general public. If somebody can say that
So
better.
So we always, at every single public hearing, accept public comment on the hearing.
Correct. And we have, since I've been involved, the three times that I've been involved in the planning board, I have heard from two different town attorneys, the attorney for the town, telling the planning board that you should not have general public comment. General public comment belongs at the town council level, not at the planning board member, and then we should only be talking about, as we just said, things that come before us. So I wanted to correct that, but again, I think the person that said it didn't mean it that way, but it was said, it was out there, and so I think it needed to be corrected. I think Jeff wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, most recently, I think the last 18 months or so, we've had significant conversation about that topic, and with legal counsel, and amended our meeting rules of order as well. So
right. So, and just tonight we had 4 different sessions of public comment, and the general public did comment. Not only were they allowed to, but they did. The third thing that I have is that also at the town council meeting there was some comment about PUDs and the rules of PUDs, and specifically it had to do with development agreements, and it got very confused, and I'm not sure that anybody that was listening could have followed what was going on and what is actually true to our regulations. And I thought I'd read it tonight. And it has to do with its ownership of the PUD. So in C of...
I'm pulling it up for you, Tony, if you want to
Thank
wait.
you. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Kelly, you just had to search.
Listen, I do things a very particular way.
Thank you.
You know where I found this? On the planning board, Planning and Economic Development website. 526, right? 52.
No, I just lost it because it...
There we go. There you go.
It's up on the screen, Tony.
Yeah, so it's up on the screen. So what was said was that a PUD has to have a development agreement, and we have some PUDs that have development agreements and some that don't have development agreements. And our regs specifically say, and I'm going to read it, the PUD shall either be under unified ownership or be a collection of lots under separate ownership with a development agreement. So according to what that says, you only have to have a development agreement if the lots are under separate ownership. You can have a development agreement if it's a single owner, but you don't have to. And I think that's where the confusion is, because the word "or" is in there. Good on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I think that needed to be clarified with the actual language. Because of the word "or," it changes things. And the last thing that I have, I don't know if tonight is the night to do it or we should wait until the public hearing, but I have a proposed change to the solar thing. But I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it before the
feel like we
public
should do
hearing
that
or
at the public-
after.
We should probably do that at the public hearing.
Okay,
Yeah.
that works.
Yep.
In that case, Mr. Chair, we had a great meeting.
Another
Thank
great
you.
meeting, Jake.
Yeah. Anything else from the board?
I just wanted to thank Tony for clarifying that. I mean, that discussion got a little out of hand, and it when we started talking about current things, I just couldn't explain any further because I didn't want to get in any issue. But it was good we got it explained tonight. So I wish I could have done it Monday, but I'm glad it got done.
Absolutely. And just one final clarification, Sean, just for this board, or at least for my expectation, of obviously there was discussion of the PUD. It sounds like come May 15th, there needs to be some stuff outlined to our town staff to be presented at the 19th meeting.
That wasn't my understanding, actually, so I'll have to circle around back with round two. My understanding was we were going to present it with staff. I think we thoroughly discussed it down to the bone, and I don't know that there's going to be a consensus coming out of that, but we can compile.
So I guess, and that's what I'm getting at, is in order for this board to, I need a consensus from the council, and I just want you as my member
Yes.
want to make sure that the council understands that for us to begin to discuss, because I still really don't necessarily know what the council's looking for. I am expecting a consensus from the council before we begin to discuss the PUD here.
So by consensus, do you mean all 5 members, or do you mean a majority?
Majority.
Okay.
A majority. It just,
Yeah.
again, I talked about us and the council working in the same path, and in order to do that, I need a consensus. So I'm hoping that you can let your chair know that that's going to be my expectation. Is I'll talk about this tomorrow, so long as there's a consensus. But I do want a consensus of what it is we're talking about. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
I'm also just to kind of piggyback on that. I'm glad that we have, kind of, and I'm sure other boards probably also have their computers on when we have questions where we search online for the appropriate regulations. So I'm glad that Kelly was able to bring that up so we could have that conversation.
Thank you, Kelly. I will not be here next week.
Jeez.
Thanks.
Not even for anything good.
Who's giving you the time
No
off,
kidding.
Jake?
How do you become
I wish it was time off. I wish it was time off. So with that, I would ask that next week, my vice chair will be my chair, and then as the
Wait,
secretary.
did you ask that? Or
Oh
did
no,
you...
I guess I'm asking to tell you. So
By our rules of procedure.
our rules of procedure would have our vice chair as our chair, our secretary as our vice chair, and then Mr. Rugg, if you could be the secretary for the meeting, I would appreciate it. I do apologize for missing a meeting. I have found myself incredibly busy over the past 6 or 8 months, and do my best to schedule things around the first and second Wednesday of the month, but that is not happening with this one. Friday I'm going to Aruba, so don't mix them up. If you see him on Facebook, I'm in Aruba from Friday on.
We know the priorities.
Yeah.
What are you doing Thursday night?
I will be traveling back. I will be on a red eye watching this meeting.
To dovetail onto that Thursday, next Thursday, we have our monthly master plan steering committee meeting.
Yep.
Will I have a vice chair?
I will also be missing. I do apologize. And Jeff, this is a conversation we can have offline, but I obviously have missed a handful of master plan meetings, which is destroying me on the inside. But like I said, I found myself much busier than I anticipated in my new role. So if you feel as though that you're looking for somebody who can ensure that they can make every meeting, we can have a discussion of that offline. I just want whatever you want is best. Put it that way. I have absolutely no problem being there. It's just I keep finding things that are. I've had 2 or 3 now that I haven't been able to make it. So I don't want you to think I'm missing them because I want to miss them, I guess is what I'm getting at. I want to be there. Just running out of time. So.
Yeah, we can talk
Yeah.
about whatever's best for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the work.
Absolutely. Cool. All right.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
So
You are
moved.
accepting it.
Somebody.
It's been off for 10 minutes.
Bye, bud. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Fantastic. Have a good night, folks.